100% with you there. All right, so I'll kick us off on our wish list because I feel like this is going to happen. 100%. But on my wish list, Goss, is that there is going to be some exceptionally cringe and awkward moment between Gianni Infantino and Donald Trump, who will both be in attendance. And as we know, and as we have seen, they've gotten a little chummy over the past year.
Best friends.
And besties. Totes besties. And you just know that there is going to be some weird viral moment that comes out of this. Either it's, they're like dancing together. I don't even know. I don't know. But like the possibilities truly are endless when it comes to these two gentlemen.
Would you describe that as somewhat like standing in the middle of a trophy lift? Having one person try and be in it, the other person try and get out of it, and then having to find a way to manage through it while a bunch of young athletes jump up and down and enjoy the moment?
Oh, God.
Would that be in the territory of what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of definitely along those lines.
Yeah.
But just, both of them are so capable of doing just the utmost cringiest behaviors. It really could go anywhere. And so it's kind of one of those, a car crash where I'm like, watching behind my hands in front of my eyes, but I'm peeking because I don't want to miss it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I will say your bingo card will be beautiful, used 1,000 times. Gianni at some point saying that every venue and game is going to be the best ever. So those are all on there. Obviously, some potential fake awards that get given away. I guarantee you Pele's name gets brought up because it's the only soccer player that Senor Trumpito has ever heard of. So it has to get mentioned because it's the only one. Shout out to Pele, legend. And so that's my bingo card for you so far.
Yep.
And you can fill the rest in, but that's why we are doing our own draw show at Kickback. We are watching it so you don't have to. We're going to talk about everything else going on besides that. And we have a couple of awards of our own that we are planning to give away to some of the esteemed people of the world who have accomplished or not accomplished the things that they are being awarded for.
I'm intrigued, Goss. That's very enticing. Okay, that was my first one. I feel pretty confident about manifesting that one.
Yeah, that one.
What you got?
That one might be realistic.
Right.
So mine is this, and we unfortunately found out that we won't know the exact locations of where the teams are playing until Saturday, which is classic, like 3 days
Let's make
before.
another event.
Let's make another event, and potentially that event will have another third event off the back of it that will give us all the other information. But one of the side stories that hasn't really been discussed, and I think for a lot of people around the US and Canada especially, and Mexico, that's going to be really fun is the teams are going to come to the World Cup 4 to 6 weeks before the World Cup starts. Mm-hmm. And from what we learned from the Athletic article about where the US is going to be playing their games, you can't then play friendlies in the FIFA World Cup stadiums, and you probably can't play them in the market. So base camps are going to be really interesting because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to like go out and be around these teams or see them play mini closed door friendlies. Like I remember 2010, the US played in South Africa against like Croatia or someone. And it was like, there was like 45 people at the game. And I was like watching a grainy stream from back in the US. All that stuff's going to be here now. So that part is really, really cool. And like I've been around, I'm sure you have the summer friendlies when a Liverpool or Man City or whatever is training at Harvard, and you just like wander in and you could stand outside and watch the players train and they come and sign autographs. And I think that's going to be really cool. There's a bizarre curve to this, which is the places named as potential base camps, which are all on FIFA's website because they get the teams get to choose from the official ones, are all like hilarious college towns and like spring break venues. So we're calling this International Soccer Spring Break. And on tap, potentially, is Stillwater, Oklahoma, State College, Pennsylvania, Boca Raton, Myrtle Beach. Like, what would be better than having Luka Modric training at Myrtle Beach and you're just hanging in Myrtle Beach in May of 2026 and then you pop over to watch Croatia train?
I mean, Luka Modric on the Dirty Myrtle is everything that I would need as a soccer fan. It's just, it's too good. It's too good. I'd have like T-shirts made up. You know, I mean, it's just, yeah.
Oh, well, there are multiple T-shirt shops in most of those towns
Yes,
that I'm sure could assist you in a quick print about something that is both racy and a play on words. So they can help you out there. So I'm excited to find out where these teams end up. I think it's hilarious, the idea of like Germany or Portugal being in Penn State and just like, in between training.
Have you been to state college?
I have not been to state. I'm not as big a Big Ten person.
It leaves a lot to be desired.
The insomnia cookies that all of these international soccer players are about to eat.
Say less, my friend.
About to go through the roof. There's going to be an insomnia cookies at the Bernabeu by the end of 2026.
That should be a World Cup sponsor, honestly.
That should be a World Cup sponsor. Based off these venues, it might be.
100%.
And then the one thing to add here is, so one of the potential base sites is Stockton University, which they say is in Atlantic City. It's a second or D2 or D3 school in New Jersey. And they were the hosts in 1994 for Argentina as their base camp. And as part of that, Santiago Solari, I think his dad was a part of the AFA organization and thought the school was so nice that he took his kid out of the River Plate Academy and sent him to go to Stockton for a year and play soccer there. And this is a guy who went on to play for River Plate, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and Inter Milan, and then eventually coached Real Madrid in America. So the idea that in potentially 1 year, but in 25 years, there's someone who's like a soccer royalty who's like, well, my parents always told me, that I have to go to this college because this is the place that they did base camp. It just cracks me up.
It's a wild narrative that's created through this, because it would just never. Why would Stockton University be on anyone's radar in that way?
I mean, High Point College is on here.
Do you know what? We were talking about this, though, in our production meeting. Like, some of these training facilities at these universities, though, are world class.
Elite, yeah.
So nice. So, in some ways it makes perfect sense, but it's just interesting that these locations, some of them are just, they're a little bit remote, a little off the beaten path, and these tiny places that they probably never in a million years thought they would find themselves in, these elite athletes. And welcome to Stockton University.
There is one called the Waters Sportsplex, which is the Grand Hyatt Tampa Bay.
Which is probably nice.
It is like, this stuff is amazing. The PGA National Hotel is going to be one of the hosts.
I want to get these players to like vlog the experience.
The experience of just pure Americana.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be so good. I would watch it for days. So good. Great shout, Goss. All right, next up on my wish list. I went a little irreverent with my wish list, but I'm not mad at it. So I decided every year or every World Cup draw, there's like performers, because they make it like this big to do. So there are, musical acts. And so I just figured, wouldn't it be great if Bad Bunny just decided to make an appearance just to piss off Donald Trump? Wouldn't that just be awesome?
The face of the Super Bowl.
Exactly. I mean, Trump's having his whole alternate Super Bowl halftime show as in protest to Bad Bunny being the halftime act. So I just thought it would be hysterical if Bad Bunny just like popped up and
what a 6 month span that would, or a 3 month span that would be for Bad Bunny if it were to happen.
Wouldn't it be great?
The odds of that one feel the lowest.
That one's pretty low. Agreed. That one's pretty low because obviously I feel like FIFA and Fox are probably like, we're gonna play nice. But
J Balvin was the Club World Cup halftime show for the final, which I was at, which he crushed.
Wow.
Yeah, I love J Balvin. I've seen him twice in concert, and one time I didn't know. It was at a music festival, and I had gone because a friend of mine was working, and we go to support and just hang out. And then music started playing. I was like, "Is that J Balvin?" And they were like, "Yeah, he's the second headliner." And I was like, "What?"
Whoa.
Now I'm on a picnic table in Citi Fields parking lot, screaming for J Balvin the whole time. But yeah, that would be luscious if it were to occur. And
Luscious.
if you're doing a world event, you might as well have a world superstar. I don't think there's anyone bigger right now. One thing that cracks me up, by the way, which I've never gotten over, is that Shakira, who's from South America, did the anthem for the South Africa World Cup.
Yes.
And then 4 years later, Pitbull, who's from North America, did the anthem for the Brazil World Cup. And on one hand, both those countries are places with awesome music cultures of their own. So you could potentially get an artist from there. So I will not be shocked if they somehow found like a Middle Eastern artist to be the face of the U.S. Mexico
definitely
Canada
what's going to happen,
World
isn't
Cup
it?
anthem. Yeah.
That's 100% what's going to happen. Gosh, you're brilliant.
Or it'll be a Spanish or Portuguese or Moroccan artist. You know,
you're 100%
Carol G,
correct.
I think, is Spanish. And then you could just still be one in advance all the time.
That's such a good shout. Such a good shout. Okay, what's next for you?
I got into the soccer here a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
I know. I'm looking at the groups. I'm looking at the pots. I'm trying to see what could happen. And there are a few things that I sort of trigger in my mind of like, these are great World Cup matchups. These are potentially great matchups or history. And to me, the biggest one about this is I think the Azteca is one of like the temples of the game. It is a place that I'd always dreamt of going. I've actually not been still. I've been to Mexico City and seen games in other stadiums, but not there. And I would imagine I won't be at a World Cup game in Mexico City at the Azteca. But it's one of those places. Everyone says when you go that everything in the hallways and the tunnels is the photos of all the greats who played there and the history that was there. So it's hosted 2 World Cups. It'll be the first stadium to host 3 when this launches, 1970 and 1986. And in 1986, it was the site for Diego Maradona and all of his greatness. Now, Mexico, as a potted host, they will play there. The only team is an A team, pot 1, that can be at the top of their group, who could end up there as well, my understanding, would have to be in Group L, and that would be a spot that I would love to see Argentina in. So they would have to get to the round of 16 for that point, and it could be Mexico-Argentina, which I go back to 2006, which is one of my favorite World Cup games of all time. They faced off again in 2022. A lot of Mexico fans think it's a rivalry. A lot of Argentina fans hate that Mexico fans think it's a rivalry. It's something I'm around a lot in Miami with all the Argentines that I interact with. They're like, what's the deal with like Mexico fans? I'm like, they're your rival. And they're like, we didn't even know that until they told us that. But like to have to go into Mexico would be legendary. It's very rare for, you know, Mexico to host these international teams because the team normally plays their friendlies in the U.S. And to just on the biggest stage, connecting Messi to Maradona, connecting those moments, and potentially either it's Mexico's greatest victory in their country's history, or Argentina continues on the march, and now you're hearkening back to the history that was in 1986, where the hand of God happened, and the greatest goal of the century. Like, all of that would be cool. So that's one of the ones where I'm like, if they got matched in the right quadrants, it would be really, really cool to see.
Love that. Sold, David Goss. Okay, I also went a little actual soccer for my next item on the wish list, and it's maybe a tad bit controversial because I don't know if everyone will be on board for this, but I wouldn't hate it if the United States got drawn against Switzerland in the group stage, because as we remember, this fall, it didn't go well for the United States against Switzerland. And I feel like it just sort of propelled this very negative narrative around the team that we didn't have what it takes against, good European clubs. And so I feel like we've been playing, leading up to this point. Hopefully we will be playing well. We'll continue this upwards trajectory, and it will kind of be a little bit of a revenge match for the US after just kind of getting embarrassed by them earlier this fall. And we'll also kind of like put to rest, like it would just be great if it was like, oh, look what we did. Yeah. That happened last year. Like onwards, like this is who we are. Also, apparently I forgot this, the US played Switzerland in 94.
Yeah.
an opener, and it was a 1-1 draw, so which was a really positive result for them. So
Eric Ronaldo with the goal, which, by the way, was at the Pontiac Dome, which no longer is used. And I think at the time it was the first ever World Cup game played inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this concept of an inside stadium, like when you go back, I didn't experience that at the time, but when you go back and you see like the content around it, it's like, how could the Americans play inside? Like, this is unhuman. And now it's like, do you guys have enough inside stadiums? Because we can't play outside.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it hasn't been that long for that to happen.
Yep. Times have changed. But yeah, I think that would be a very tasty matchup for the United States and could be a very big statement maker.
Well, we are officially live in New York City, the greatest city in the world, at the best soccer bar on the planet. It's legends. David Goss and Eric Krakaeur with you for the Kickback First Touch live World Cup draw show. It's going to be a big day. It is a big moment. We're excited to be here. We're excited for this show.
Big day, great moment. Pumped to be here with you, with Kickback, with First Touch. Big moment for U.S. soccer in general. Of course, Mexico and Canada, but for the United States, we all saw what the World Cup in 1994 did for the game in this country, so I'm hoping for it to go into hyperdrive.
It is a special day on the road to any World Cup because it is the first time we will know what the matchups will look like. It's the first time that we understand what teams' realities will be at the World Cup coming up, but it's a big moment, as you said, for the sport because it's the largest World Cup of all time. It might be the largest sporting event in the history of the world with 48 teams across 3 nations for the first time, and it's all going to be kicking off next summer. And so today, we are going to be here with you for about 4 hours, potentially, talking about all of it. And we're here. We're watching the draw, so you don't have to. We're going to have the convos you want to hear. We're going to talk about the soccer. We're going to talk about all the fun things. We've got a lot planned for you, so you don't have to be a part of maybe all of the FIFA fanatics.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little less awkward here because we know that no matter how many times they have the draws for whatever competition, there's always a little bit of awkwardness.
So let's get into why we are here, which is the World Cup draw. It's different, as I said, because we've got 48 teams. So let's take a look at a little bit of an explainer that we put together on what we are in for. For starters, there are going to be 12 groups of 4 each. We are going to start with pot 1, which is the 3 hosts and the top-ranked teams. The 3 hosts have already been seeded into Group A, B, and for the U.S., Group D. And then, Eric, FIFA sort of threw a new wrinkle in after that.
Yeah, Spain, Argentina, France, and England, if they top their groups, will not face each other until either the semifinals or potentially the final. I thought that this was an interesting wrinkle from FIFA. Obviously, there are a few reasons for it. For one, no matter the tournament, but especially in World Cups, there tends to be a weaker side of the bracket. I think that basically eliminates that problem or mitigates it at least. And the other thing is that FIFA wants to make sure that the teams that attract the most attention are in the latter stages of the competition. And we can all go back to the last World Cup final, which was arguably the greatest soccer game ever played. Mbappe a hat-trick, and he still didn't lift his second World Cup. And FIFA wants something like that again, perhaps for them. They want to see the exact same final.
Well, if it all lines up, everyone wins their group, it would be Lamine Yamal this time instead of Mbappe trying to put together that hat trick. It would be a special event for sure in the Meadowlands, about 12 miles west of here. So the rest of pot 1 will be drawn out going forward. And, of course, they are all based off their FIFA rankings. Then we get into pot 2, 3, and 4. 12 teams in each. Everyone will be drawn out as we are used to seeing it, and you cannot have 2 teams from the same federation in any group except for UEFA. Because there are so many teams, there'll be 4 groups with at least 2 UEFA teams, but at that point, we're into it. This is the draw we've become familiar with.
Yeah, let me just take you back to the comments that Gennaro Gattuso made about a month ago when Italy failed to qualify directly for the World Cup, that because so many more allotments were given to CAF or the AFC, that Europe didn't have enough spots, and that's one of the reasons that the team didn't get a direct berth.
The 16
which is
wasn't
ridiculous
enough.
because UEFA still has so many positions, so many places, and we're still awaiting some more teams. But I think that what's really interesting about the pot 3 and pot 4 is that you have teams with a variety of strengths.
Yeah.
So you could have a team in pot 4, for example, that could potentially be a dark horse.
Yeah.
Maybe one coming out of the playoffs, the European playoffs, for example.
And something to remember, because you can't have two from the same federation, if a Morocco comes out, it's going to be a tough group if you get them in pot 2, but you cannot get another team from Africa after that. And so that will affect the way we end up seeing potentially some groups of death going forward. Because of the playoff spots, 6 spots that have not been decided, those playoff spots will be held, assuming any team coming out of them is from their federation. So on one side of the Intercontinental Playoffs, you've got a team from Africa, you've got a team from CONCACAF. So they cannot be drawn into a group with a team from a similar spot. So it's a different World Cup than we've ever seen. And let's talk about that a little bit before we get into this, because I know for me, I love the World Cup. I live and breathe it. But the 32 teams, the groups, it all made sense to me. Now we're in a new reality. So we put together a little bit of an explainer graphic as well there, where we have 48 teams now. And if you are doing math, that means 12 groups of 4. You cannot just have the top 2 teams from everyone. I don't really understand the math, but apparently, Eric, that means 8 third-place teams will go through.
Yes, that's right. And, you know, a lot of people, when the conversations were being had about having an expanded World Cup, talked about the dilution of quality in the tournament. I don't necessarily think that that's a problem. I don't think we're going to see enormous beatdowns in this competition. What's interesting is I said that before the last few games of the European qualifiers, and then you saw Portugal beat Armenia 9-1, for example. But I don't think that happens if teams are actually playing for something. And with the expanded World Cup, you're going to have teams that could move on to the knockout stages with just 1 win or just 3 points. So no team is going to be eliminated after the first game. And that's good news because there will be competition throughout. Now, the counter argument is that it may kill off some of the jeopardy because you know how important for the big teams how important that first game is. But I think there's more upside because there's an opportunity to see one of those, let's call them minnows, make a name for themselves in a tournament like this.
And the drama we will see on the last day, as you said, from what we've learned from Youth World Cups and the Women's World Cup, where because of their numbers, we've seen third-place teams go through, any team with 3 points has a shot and most likely will get through, which means if you win that last game, you're through. So you are never fully eliminated from this World Cup until the final whistle blows in your last game.
And I know it's not the World Cup, but if you look back at 2016 in European Championship, when they expanded that tournament, Portugal finished 3rd in their group and went on to win the competition. Of course, I'm going to mention that because I'm Portuguese. And they were a powerhouse in that tournament. They could have fallen flat had they not had those extra positions. But it does speak to the possibility of a team finishing 3rd and yet getting very far into the tournament.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun day. As Eric mentioned, he's representing Portugal here on this stage for us. I've got my USA crest on here. We have a ton of incredible guests that are going to be joining us. We've got Claudia Pagan, who's going to be here with us as one of our hosts. We've got Heath Pearce coming up later. And then we've got a bunch of people from around the world. We're going to talk to some experts from Africa. We're going to talk to some players currently who are going to be playing in this World Cup from around the world as well. We have a lot of fun segments set up for you. We're going to play some games. We're going to give away our own awards, equally undeserving to what we think the Peace Prize will be going forward as well. But first, we have a guest that I am most excited about because 7 years ago on a stage in Moscow, Russia, this World Cup bid was secured by 3 18-year-olds. Alfonso Davies spoke representing Canada, Diego Lainez spoke representing Mexico, and our own Kickback Committee member, Briana Pinto, spoke to represent the United States and secure the bid. At just 18 years old, in front of dignitaries from every corner of the world, she stood up and she was able to represent the story to secure the bid for this World Cup. So we're all thankful to her, and she also took some time this week to chat with me about that experience. Well, we are on the verge of the World Cup draw here in 2026 for the 2026 World Cup. And the only reason that this is happening is because of the success of the bid over 7 years ago. And one of the main speakers at that event and one of our members of our Kickback Committee, by coincidence, is Briana Pinto, now a Chicago star in NWSL. Briana, thanks for being here with me.
Thank you so much. I can't believe it's already almost time for World Cup. It is truly unbelievable how quickly the time has gone by, but that was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. So honored to be here and talk about it.
Yeah, so take us back. You were 18 years old and you stood up in the FIFA Congress alongside Alphonso Davies and Diego Lainez to sort of talk about the future. What was that experience like at the time?
It was a whole whirlwind. So it started in April of 2018, and basically the U.S. Soccer Federation asked me to send in a video about what football means to me. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I didn't know what it was for, but I talked about an experience playing with the under-19s in China against Iran in their first youth international tournament, and how empowering it was to see girls playing at the international level for the first time. And then I also spoke about how it united us like off the field, and we figured out that even though we are from different cultures, we figured out we were so similar with our interests off the field. But anyways, I sent that video in, and I was one of 4 people they asked to send it in, 2 from the men's U20 team and 2 from the women's U20 team. And at that point, I was preparing for the U20 World Cup later that summer. But anyways, I was notified that I was selected to be the speaker for the United 2026 bid, and I was at camp in France in June, and my head coach at the time, Jitka Klinkova, pulled me aside, and she was like, hey, the president of U.S. Soccer is asking for you to come to England to practice your speech. So over the last few weeks prior to this camp and then going to England, I had been working with President Obama's speechwriter. This was Terence Zuplat. And then I met the United Bid Committee in England, and I was in a boardroom with the most influential people in North American soccer as an 18-year-old. And I was like, what did I just walk into? So I share all this because the preparation was crazy for this event.
Yeah.
But I remember reading the speech for the first time in front of this boardroom of people who were so involved in the bid, and I just read it because I had never given a speech in my life. And they stopped me after 3 words, and they're like, you sound like you're dying. And I kid you not, I spent like 30 minutes practicing saying, good afternoon, my name is Briana Pinto, because I learned that saying good afternoon is very different than projecting your voice. And I learned inflection in your voice and how to scan a crowd and purposeful pauses to like make a point land. So I probably recited this speech 150 times in the 24 hours that I met this group in England. Alphonso Davies and Diego Lainez couldn't come because they had like MLS Cup, and Diego was playing in Liga MX, and it was just crazy because it was just me. So anyways, fast forward, I go back to the tournament. We win the tournament in preparation for the U20 World Cup. And at the end of it, we all meet up in Russia. And we had gone through all of our speeches several times. The group became super close. And for it to all come to fruition and the bid to go perfectly, we had 15 minutes, Morocco had 15 minutes, and then everybody voted on these small tablets in the FIFA delegation room. And to hear U.S., Canada, and Mexico be selected as the hosting countries for the 2026 FIFA World Cup was a dream come true. I think for me, like reflecting on that as a Black woman, being on that stage advocating for a men's World Cup in my home country was really special, because we wanted to make sure some of the countries that are primarily minority felt safe coming to America. And I think the political dynamic definitely influenced some of the votes. So just to have a hand in what I believe will be the most transformational part of North American soccer, I feel so grateful.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable moment. It's insane to hear that story. And I've watched the speech. It comes out, how comfortable you are with it, and how well rehearsed you are. And we are all thankful, because we're all going to get to be around a World Cup thanks to the work you helped put in. Briana Pinto is the best. She's one of our favorite here at Kickback. She is getting ready to step on the field for the first time with the Chicago Stars this season in NWSL. She wasn't able to join us in person, but we got to do the video, and I got to tell you, after we finished talking there, because we wanted it to be contained, the rest of the story is even more insane. Like, an 18-year-old being flown into these cities to give this speech. She'd never given a public speech before, and she crushed it.
Yeah, I love listening to her on your podcast talking about NWSL. I commentate on the league, so you always feel like you learn a little bit of something. But to do what she did, to stand up in front of these dignitaries is remarkable. And obviously, it paid off in the end.
Yeah, and we love our Kickback Committee family. Not everyone could be with us here live today. We saw Susanna already at the beginning, and we love Susanna and everything that she does for us. Shout out to Jordan and Tom, as well as everyone else who's a part of our crew. But Briana brought the World Cup to this site, and as we've said a couple times, this one's a little different. 48 teams, 3 countries, and that means we have 6 teams that we still don't know their names as we head into this draw. We still have a set of playoffs to come next March to decide the final teams in the World Cup. We have a UEFA playoff, 16 teams that will fight for 4 spots remaining, and then we have the Intercontinental playoff. These are 2 seeds of 3 teams each that will take place in Mexico, in Monterrey and Guadalajara in March. I've been told I will be there. Our good man Ben will be there as well. He's ready to party it up in Mexico. And it is going to be a big moment for those countries, Eric, and the possibility of making it to a World Cup.
Yeah, I love the fact that there's a neutral site, by the way, in Mexico, as opposed to traveling thousands of miles to play in the Intercontinental playoff.
I will fight neutral site away every time. I want the fans.
Yeah.
That's just me. But I get it. It's
But you
more
saw
fair.
right, and you saw what the travel did to teams as well, right?
The New Zealands and Australias of the world.
Exactly. And I feel like it's always New Zealand in that situation. But there are a couple of teams that I want to focus on in that playoff. One is Bolivia, because the World Cup is back in the United States. The only World Cup that Bolivia ever took part in was in 1994 in the United States. The tournament that for me was huge in my formative soccer years, but even bigger in this country's soccer formative years as well, because soccer blew up after that, and it's going to be even bigger after this tournament. The other one is Suriname. We've seen Curacao qualify from CONCACAF. Suriname, also a country with deep associations to the Netherlands. Yeah. And Suriname in particular had a lot of its talent siphoned off to some of the best Dutch teams of all time. You talk about Frank Rijkaard, Clarence Seedorf, Patrick Kluivert. So the opportunity to see a team like Suriname perhaps play against their, for lack of a better term, former colonizer is a subplot that I want to see in this tournament. And I think that one that we will be able to see, because there are so many of these teams, particularly in Africa, that gave Europe so much of its talent.
And for those teams, because we don't know who they are going into the draw, the way FIFA is going to operate is the assumption that any of them could come out, and therefore they cannot be drawn into a group potentially where they'd face a team from their own federation. So when you look at Bolivia and Suriname and then facing a team from Iraq, that playoff spot, FIFA A, can't be drawn in to any group that already has a South American, CONCACAF, or Asian team. Because of that, the 3 hosts are in a tight spot. Most of the teams in Pot 4 are technically considered a CONCACAF team, so we have already whittled down what those teams will end up being. The other 4 playoff spots are these UEFA playoff teams. It is 16 teams, single elimination games. If I could say it, it would be a lot easier. And they have a chance to go to the World Cup. Those games are going to be in March. All of the flags on the top of our graphic are going to be the host. It is going to be insane drama for those 2 games.
Big teams.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's looking at Italy. I've already spoken about them, so I don't need to. Don't
I
even
don't know.
knock
We can
them
slam
anymore.
Gattuso again.
You know,
we've got time.
I remember. You know, talking about Italy, and we'll talk about Ireland in a second when they played each other.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, right? And just the incredible crowd for that game and Ireland's famous win. But I look at a team like Denmark, who just got pipped to top spot by an incredible performance from Scotland after they'd blown it in Belarus as well. That's a big team with a lot of potential in this tournament. Sweden, very lucky that through the Nations League, they're even in this position after they got absolutely decimated in qualifying. Now with Graham Potter in charge, his first game didn't go well. I think they lost 4-1. So any one of these teams that can come out of UEFA, and again, no minnows. Yeah. Anybody can come out of these groups, including Albania. Yeah, Albania, one of those teams, that can pose real threats to any of the big boys in the World Cup.
So the way those will be drawn is it'll be UEFA A, B, C, and D. So we'll know which of the 4 teams could be in it, but we won't know exactly when we finish things up today. You just mentioned some of the ups and downs of World Cup qualifying for these countries. Some insane moments. Some of those teams started hot. Some of them got hot later. But maybe there was no better moment in World Cup qualifying than when Ireland, in the last window, was able to ride Troy Parrott's incredible goals to that playoff spot. We've got a little bit of a video from Ireland to show some of the celebrations going on. The world fell in love with Ireland and the Ireland fans, as they've done often in the past, and we've got one here, a very special one. Enda Keane, the owner of this beautiful establishment, but first and foremost, an Ireland fan. What do you remember about those goals?
Oh, my God. In 94?
Yeah. No,
That-
Troy
to-
Parrott.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. That was insane. Because to go from a very, very weak thinking that you weren't going to make it to win 2 games like that in a row,
Yeah.
especially against good opponents.
Yeah.
Where comparison what we had done earlier in this, in the competition was unbelievable.
Did you think coming into qualifying that this is a team that should be at the World Cup? Is family already reaching out being like, hey, we're going to come over?
There's a lot of people doing that. all of a sudden, I got a lot of friends.
Okay. And of course, you are the owner of this soccer bar, which I grew up in, one of our favorite places. What is it like preparing for a World Cup, knowing what it could bring to not just your business, but the sport that you've helped grow?
The sport, the way it has come on since since 94.
Yeah.
Since 94 was amazing what it did for the country. And the way it just developed, that it has developed the sport since. Especially with all the academies growing and growing bigger and bigger all the time. And the amount of good players that's going over to Europe, going to all the different places that they're going to. It has done so much for the sport in 94 did.
Have you seen fandom change as people have come through your doors over the last 20 plus years?
It's got incredible. We have like 38, we're the home to 38 or 40 teams here in this particular spot. And it's just like, you could come in at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning and there could be 500-600 people.
And it's every corner of the world. It's South America, it's
We've all
Europe.
the South American, a lot of the South American, Brazilian clubs, Colombian, Australia, everything. You think about it, Argentinian, everything, apart from all the European teams that we have.
Do you think this bar can handle Ireland fans traveling and getting ready for an Ireland World Cup?
Put it like this, we're used to our own, so anyway. Lucky that we are.
What's the insurance package have to look like?
It might have to go up a little, especially with Scotland in it now too, and England, of course, and all the clubs the way they're coming. It's going to be incredible.
What do you remember about 1994 when Ireland played in the World Cup, as you said, here in the U.S.?
94, I remember I had my first bar out in Queens at that time. I was a young kid, and actually it was impossible to get tickets. But a lot of the
nothing's changed.
A lot of the Italian business owners who had all the pizza places around us, I was fit to buy like 100 tickets off them because they figured they were going to hammer us on the day. And that we ended up the only team to beat them in the whole competition other than on the final, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I had 2 busloads gone out there. It was insane in the stadium. It was just like, wow, when that ball went in, it was absolutely nuts.
And I appreciate you doing what you do best and bringing us a couple of drinks
Oh,
here.
I've been here a couple of years on Confidence, Ultra, Neutral, and all from AB, and they're sponsors of the whole tournament. And a little Stella, and you're good to go.
That's
okay?
all we need. We are going to be here for the next 4 hours talking about the World Cup. We won't know if Ireland will be here, but I think we can all be hopeful that Troy Parrott's able to get them over the line and get here next year.
We just hope. I mean, we were lucky enough, I think, on the draw that we got. It seems to be about as good as we could expect.
Yeah.
And if we can play anything like we played in those 2 games, there is no reason we shouldn't win, you know, and be there.
Everyone talks about how great the Ireland fans are? What is it that makes the vibe so
Bottom
special?
is we enjoy the game so much. We enjoy the game of football so much, or AKA soccer. You know,
It's fine.
It's
We're
fine.
all friends.
We just enjoy the game, and afterward the game, you might kill each other during the game, but the minute it's over, you go have a beer. Everybody has a beer.
It is one of the great moments, the atmosphere around Ireland games. Thank you for joining us here and chatting about it a
It's a
little bit. But
pleasure.
they're not the only fans that have gotten famous. We've seen Cape Verde qualify and get big. We've also seen Curacao, which has become one of the
true.
darlings of the World Cup. And we chatted with their starting goalkeeper, Eloy Royme, a little bit about the Blue Waves run. We have a special guest joining us, one who is one of the bells of the ball around the world right now, because Curacao are the darlings of the game all over the planet. And we have the starting goalkeeper over the last 10 years for the Blue Wave, Eloy Royme. Eloy, thanks for joining us.
Hi, man.
So you joined this Curacao project very early. I know a lot of us in the U.S. learned about you watching the Gold Cups, and then eventually you joined Major League Soccer. After all of that had happened, what was it like when you clinched the World Cup in Jamaica?
Yeah, in the beginning, like, you don't realize it because what you said, like, it's been a long journey. Like, I started playing for Curacao like 10 years ago. I was actually the first player, like, on high level. I was playing in Holland at that time, who chose to play for Curacao. So it was a big thing back then. And after me, a lot of other guys choose the same path. So it's been a long road. It was my dream from when I was a young kid. So it was in my mind, but I knew it was a long road. But I always had faith in our team and our talents we have. But it was not easy.
We saw it in the parade when you returned.
Yeah, in the parade for sure. Yeah,
Did you know that's what it would be like? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, we knew obviously that it's gonna be a chaos when we come back to Curacao, but like I didn't expect it was so busy and like basically the whole island was shut down. There was no work anymore. People didn't go to work and the kids went off school, so it was like a national celebrating day, So the streets were like full of people, and to see that was really beautiful. I saw a lot of people in Curacao with celebrations, but this was next level. So, it was really nice to see.
You're uniquely positioned because you played, as you said, for Columbus, which means you've played games in Canada, you've played games in Mexico, and that's where the World Cup is going to be.
Yeah.
As a Curacao international, did you feel support? Are there hot pocket communities that we should know about? Like, what's Curacao going to look like in terms of support across these three countries?
I hopefully a lot of support is going to travel now. I think so, because now already in Jamaica, there were like, I think 2 or 3 planes with supporters from Curacao coming to Jamaica. So hopefully they're also going to come to the World Cup, and I think they do because the support is just immense. So hopefully also a lot of planes go to the places where we're going to play. So that's really nice to see. And other than that, I think sometimes people don't realize we're a really small island, and to have so much support already is immense. And sometimes it's unbelievable for myself because if I look at the island, I look at the people. They are so invested in us and in sports in general because the island is crazy of sports, not only soccer but also baseball, obviously. If you see a small island like that and you have such a big heart for sports, it's just nice to see.
You mentioned Kluivert, a legend. It feels like every coach that you've been under now at this team has been a legend.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
What is it like working under these names, and maybe what is a Gus Hiddink, Dick Advocate, like in person with Curacao and the culture there versus what maybe you saw or envisioned from them from afar when they were with some of the other national teams they worked with?
Yeah, and sometimes I'm standing on the field and I'm talking with the coach, and I also think these are really legendary coaches I had already in Curacao. And it's weird because you have an image from a person, of course, because they are legends in Holland and in the world. But they always are so humble and so nice to you, and they want to really help Curacao. And I think it says enough that coaches from that caliber choose for Curacao because they see the potential in us, and they see the potential in the island, they see the potential in the talents we have. So I think that gives us a lot of confidence, for such a small island that we can produce so much talent. So it feels also really like a proud thing. But what I said, they're really humble and they really want to help Curacao. And if you see someone really take their time and all the efforts to come to Curacao and help us, that says enough for me. That gives us a lot of confidence.
You've been put in pot 4. Is there any hopes of anyone you'd like to see from the World Cup draw?
Yeah, I got a lot of messages from people say we hope that you come in the same group as Holland,
Yeah.
And, that will be fun, of course, because I know a lot of players of them, and it will be really, really fun. But like, yeah, no, I don't really have left favorites to come in the group. Say will be fun, or other big countries, Brazil, Portugal, Spain. Of course, you want to play against the biggest countries, but at the end, it really doesn't matter for me. I'm focusing on us, and yeah, if we play against a big country, it will be also really, really special.
If anyone wants to get in the zone while they're watching Curacao, and of course, everyone neutral is going to become a fan, is there any food or drink or music or anything people should do on their own so that they can feel a part of it while they're watching from afar?
Yeah, like food wise, it's like a lot of traditional food is like rice and chicken. So also like southern food from the States. The music is really like Caribbean vibe, salsa. But we also have a lot of artists from Curacao now who also make a lot of songs about the team, about the Blue Wave. So if they if they look that up on YouTube, they find for sure a lot of songs. So yeah, if you type in Blue Wave, I think you see a lot of songs.
Thank you so much once again to Eloy Room for taking the time. He is going to be the starting goalkeeper for Curacao at this World Cup. He is going to learn who his opponents will be later in a little bit because we're about to get to the draw. But first, as FIFA always has to do, they've created 19 different ceremonies and events and whatnot. You're here because you don't want to watch it, and don't worry, we got you. But right now, we believe they're giving away a FIFA Peace Prize to someone who maybe is deserving, maybe isn't. It depends on, I don't know, if you think about it for 2 seconds or not. So we decided here at Kickback that we should give the rest of the Nobel Prizes. You can't just give a Peace Prize, right?
Exactly.
You got to go literature, you got to go economics.
importance.
And we think we found people from the soccer world who are equally undeserving for this award. So we put together a nice little graphic for you so that we could award the rest of the Nobel Prizes. So we've got chemistry, economics, literature, physiology, and physics. First of all, didn't know those were the Nobel Prizes, so I'm learning today. And we start, I think we have to, with the Nobel Prize for Economics to an FC Barcelona team who makes the most money in the world and yet is broke every single year.
They're the smartest people with money because for a club that doesn't have money, they spend a lot of it.
We have to sign 50 new players that we can't register.
And they have a million levers to pull. You know, some still under construction. I just saw a graphic a few days ago of how much money they still owe for signings. So let's see how that develops and how it impacts the club going forward.
If you think maybe every once in a while you buy something that's you don't use that often, they buy $50 million players that they don't use. So you don't have to worry about that at all. They will be as equally deserving as Donald Trump is, who's about to receive a fake award that Gianni Infantino made up about 7 minutes ago.
Tell us how you really feel, Dave.
And so therefore, I'm going to keep giving away the rest of my awards. So if you take a look at this list, we have Paul Pogba for chemistry. For literature, we have newly appointed DC United sporting director, Dr. Erkut Sogut, who along with being an agent and having never been a sporting director before and doing this for the first time, is apparently an acclaimed author. And the acclaim part comes from himself. He has written multiple novels like Taken style, but where the main character who saves the world and is a secret agent is also a soccer agent, a Turkish one actually, just like him.
Oh, you didn't know that all these football agents have lived double lives?
Yeah.
You know, George Minch, for example, who rules the world and reps basically the most famous people in soccer.
It's all up front.
It is all up front. It absolutely is all up front. And by the way, if you can't advertise yourself, then what are we doing?
Yeah, we are in that part of society.
Look, you're finishing my sentences. We're only about half an hour into the show. This is amazing.
You're going to be getting an award by the end of this show as well. For physiology, we have Juan Bernabe, who became very famous for both an anatomical surgery that he did to enhance parts of his body.
Do you want to go into detail about that?
I don't know. We're only waist up for this show.
Okay.
I think because of the table, we can't really go below the waist. But after that, Lazio tried to fire him. This is the best part of the story. He lives at the training ground.
Yeah.
He locked himself into the training ground for 3 weeks or 3 months.
I don't remember how long it was, but I remember this was a big story.
Yeah.
And the picture is out there for anybody who wants to search for it.
It's unreal.
I actually haven't seen it, but I've heard it's out there.
My dad is here today. He knows I used to lock myself in the room every once in a while, but I couldn't last more than 2 hours. This guy locked himself into this training facility for like 3 weeks, and it was an unbelievable story. And Lazio's always got something going on.
You know, if it's your dream job, you have to fight for it.
Yes. And then for the last one, our fearless leader, John Parker, needed to get Volair involved somehow. So Volair is this weird animal creation that CONCACAF created as its new logo that is a combination of, I don't know, the energies or vibes of all 41 countries. It's probably the best character on the stage. Although I will say, I'm still a Pogba fan.
I mean, if I was a cartoon character, I'd like to look like
Yeah.
like Volaire.
For sure.
Didn't really know him. Didn't know who he
Yeah,
was.
but he's got bird, wings, strength.
He's got everything.
Power.
Did we talk about Paul Pogba?
We did not really. I kind of feel bad for putting him on there.
For chemistry?
I like Pogba.
I know. I feel like Paul
But yes,
Pogba,
there's been a lot of, I didn't know I took that.
a long list of
vibes.
players who have taken medication and unwittingly broke soccer's governing body rules, right?
And this is always, I thought I took my wife's stuff. No, it was supposed to be below the threshold. And then we spend like 10 months investigating it and researching it and all that
the
type of
dog
stuff.
ate my homework sort of excuse.
Pretty much.
Yep.
None of them were available here to give a speech. My understanding is during the actual draw right now, there's a couple politicians giving speeches on a stage. That is pretty uninteresting. The reason we do what we do here at Kickback, besides the fact that we love soccer and we like to have fun, is we know that this World Cup, for many people, is being taken away in ways, and we don't want that to happen. So we have tried to bring the elements of this that we all love back into it. So if you've never been introduced to us before, we have multiple podcasts a week. We've got video series coming out for social media about every country at the World Cup. We've got a newsletter. We have all of your soccer covered in the way you want it to be covered from here in the U.S. So thank you for joining us now. Make sure to join us again in the future. And we have travel tips for you. So we've got one of our own, Jill Sakovich, who joined Susanna a little bit earlier this week to give some advice from two people who have been to literally every stadium and every market that this World Cup will be in, and they gave you a little bit of a guide of things to do.
What's up, soccer friends? Susanna Fuller here alongside my best girl, Jillian Sakovitz. Hope everyone is enjoying the World Cup draw. I know the Kickback crew are there holding it down for us, but we had to get on the fun as well. So Jill and I decided to basically put together a best friends road trip of all these amazing World Cup host cities, because we've been to a fair few of these, some of these together. So these are kind of our can't misses for a few of the cities. So I'm going to let Jill kick us off. Take it away.
Okay. I do feel like we have a very good grasp on this. I've been to every MLS city, so I feel like I'm being fair in my assessment. But I narrowed it down to my 3, all for very different reasons. And of course, we're going to start in Atlanta. It was a stadium that I considered my office for 5 years, and that would be Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So there's 73,000 people, and the coolest part about it is it has a rotating roof that opens and closes, and in the middle of the summer, it's usually closed, but I've also been in there when they open that thing up and blast the AC, and I have a feeling that's exactly the wastefulness and greatness that we could see for a World Cup semifinal. So the best thing about Atlanta is the stadium, but also the people. It's truly like a cross-section of the United States. There's all walks of life. There's all ages, all races, all like socioeconomic levels. And that's kind of like the vibe in Atlanta. Like it really is like Southern hospitality. Everybody's welcome. And then it's the beats. It's the music. It's everything from Ray Charles to Lil Jon to Outkast. And it is just the best. So you go to Atlanta, you get yourself some Southern food. You stay in Midtown. You don't need to stay downtown by the stadium. And you go eat some Waffle House. Moving on, you could not go further, I think, geographically, of our World Cup host cities than Vancouver, Canada, the new home of Thomas Muller. And that's because it has to be, when people ask me what is the best MLS city, I say in terms of seeing something different, take the stadium out of it, go to Vancouver, Canada. 3 things: Sea to Sky Gondola, Capilano Suspension Bridge Park, Stanley Park. You want to see those like blue aqua luminescent like lakes with the white capped mountains. You just got to go 5 to 60 minutes outside the city. So rent yourself a car and go see those 3 things, and maybe go on a seaplane. I was very naive to when I first went there to the fact that you will go in the middle of the summer and there's the sea, the plains, and the white capped mountains. Yes, go. It is beautiful. And it is a West Coast rainforest right outside of it.
Oh my
Did
gosh.
you know?
I did not.
There's like suspension bridges. It's
I'm
so
ready.
unbelievably beautiful.
Sign me up.
So go there. And then finally, I will end in the home of the final and the home of my birth, the place I was born and raised, New York, we'll call it the New York, New Jersey region. Sure, go land in New Jersey, go to the game in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, but you don't have to do anything else in New Jersey. See all the New York City things: Central Park, Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge, Empire State Building. Don't stay in Times Square, even though you should see it. But go treat yourself to the great state of New York beyond that. You go 2 hours east on the train, you go out to Long Island, do some beaches, go to some wineries, and go 2 hours north to the great Hudson Valley, where I am from, and see some mountains and some lakes. And yeah, that's my inside pro tip. Leave the city. And the real Chinatown's in Queens, and the real Little Italy is in the Bronx. So
Heck yeah.
leave
Preach,
that,
sister.
leave that city. And yes, there's my road trip.
I mean, what else do you need? The experts are giving you exactly what to do.
Aqualuminous. What a great word.
What a great, you're going to use it in your next broadcast?
I don't know, but I wanted to use it now.
Unfortunately, Gotham changed their name from Sky Blue. Otherwise, it would have been a perfect one for you to use. We've got more from Susanna as well, her travel tips that will be coming up later in the show, because we're not going anywhere. So you don't have to go and watch the draw that has a bunch of random people talking about random stuff right now. You could stick here with us, and what we're going to do is, as every team comes out, we're going to talk about them the same as anyone else would talk about them. We've got Claudia Pagan and Heath Pearce that are going to be joining us in a little bit, so we will give you analysis as it happens. We'll give you the vibes. We'll hang out. We'll talk about everything. We're also in the comment section, so if you want to shoot us a message, ask us a question, we're always on Blue Sky, and, of course, we're on YouTube as well right now. Before we get into the draw, there's one thing I want to talk about. My favorite tournament in the world, AFCON. It is always electric. It is always chaotic. It's one of the reasons I became such a big soccer fan. Mohamed Abu Trika is my GOAT because of the runs he brought Egypt on back in the day. And we've got one, oddly, between the draw and the World Cup coming up in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and interestingly, some of the African teams who are going to be in the World Cup, didn't actually qualify for this year's AFCON.
CAF, baby.
And spare a thought for some of the European teams who are losing some of their big hitters. Maybe Liverpool right now won't miss Mo Salah too much, but Manchester United, for example, with Ahmad going, with Mbomo going as well. So it's a tournament that I've had the privilege of calling before. I love it, and I'll be very focused on it. And by the way, one more point. We know how fickle some of these federations are with their coaching changes. And so if things don't go well for those African teams in AFCON and in the World Cup, don't be surprised if you do see some coaching changes.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's the double jeopardy, which is, at this point, every team is dying for ways to test themselves at a World Cup level to prepare. And it's impossible to find meaningful games. But the flip side of that is if it goes poorly, the pressure's on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know if you look at, for example, Regragui, the Morocco coach, he came in a few months before the World Cup and got Morocco into a semifinal of the competition. You know, Halilhodžić was the coach, got into a misunderstanding with the federation. You're out. They're not afraid to make changes no matter how close they are to a major tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is going to be fun to watch. Morocco hosting this tournament as they are literally hosting everything in the world of soccer. In a 5-year span. They, of course, will be one of the hosts of the 2030 World Cup. But as much as we love this tournament, we wanted to go to a little bit more of an expert. So we chatted with someone from South Africa. His name is Pitch Invaders. You know him from TikTok. You know him from Instagram. He is one of the biggest content creators around the game of soccer, and he brought us inside a little bit on some things to watch for AFCON. It's pretty rare to have national teams that are going into a World Cup have the opportunity to sharpen their skills in competitive games before the tournament kicks off. But this is one of those opportunities. We have an AFCON coming up in just about 2 weeks that will take place in Morocco. Most of the World Cup qualified teams will be there from Africa, so they get a high-stakes competitive tournament to get themselves ready to go. And to talk about that, who better to have than one of the best in all of Africa covering the sport, Emilio, better known as Pitch Invaders on Instagram. Emilio, it's going to be a huge competition. It's going to be a huge tournament, and I think we're all pretty ready to watch this go down.
100%, man. Honestly, the AFCON is so underrated. You saw the last AFCON 2023. I feel like this one's going to be even better, man. I feel like this one's going to be something. It's going to be a movie.
So for people on the outside, they might be thinking, well, Morocco made the deepest run in World Cup history back in 2022. They're hosting this tournament. They're the obvious favorites. Are they the giant of the region right now? Is it Morocco and then everyone else in this tournament?
To be honest with you, it's going to be a very simple answer. I think the answer is yes. Morocco being the host nation, they'll obviously have that motivation to like really bring this AFCON home. The under-20 squad just won the under-20 World Cup. The under-17s, they lost the AFCON final and won against, sorry, the under-20s actually. But they're playing extremely well. I think they are doing well across all of the age categories. And I think if the youth setup is that good, obviously the senior team is even better in my opinion, you know. So I think Morocco are the clear favorites.
It's amazing, this competition that you prepare for so much, and then Ivory Coast is firing their coach midway through the group stage and winning the whole thing. It just feels like AFCON always has a curveball in it.
Yeah, look, I don't know. There's something about AFCON, man. People didn't pay it enough respect at first, but I think after the latest edition, people are starting to see, like, although the quality of football, you know, the opinion might be different, the entertainment value is on another level. Like, where are you going to see a coach, you know, being sacked halfway through the tournament? The team somehow making it past the group stages, winning the tournament, beating the favorites Nigeria. It's crazy, man. And there's a lot of character in the tournament. So, yeah, people need to tune in, man. People need to start watching it just like they watch the Euros every year or every 2 years.
I cannot wait for AFCON to kick off. Thanks once again to Pitch Invaders for chatting with us. We have a lot more that we talked about with him. We dug into the South Africa national team. That will all be in our country-specific podcast. At Kickback, we are building 48 podcasts, one about every single country at the World Cup. We've already released 16 of them. Over the next few weeks, we will finish out the 42 of the teams we already know. So you can go and search Kickback 26 or First Touch on anywhere you get your podcast, and you can listen to those. We had an incredible producer in Mara who put them together with music, interviews, everything else. And we talked South Africa. We talked about every single team. And the AFCON is a huge part about a lot of these teams.
It is, and I wanted to mention before I forgot that one of the famous coaches in AFCON who won 2 titles, one incredibly in 2012 with Zambia,
legend.
Hervé Renard, or Renard.
Or as I say, Hervé Renard.
Hervé Renard is going to, well, first let me just say, the best looking man in football, soccer. Yeah. Sorry, David Beckham, and sorry, David Goss. But
we're both getting slammed.
But
Bex, let's talk tomorrow at MLS Cup about what we should do to Eric.
He's gonna be on the sideline with Saudi Arabia. He was in charge of Saudi Arabia in the previous World Cup and beat Argentina in that famous game as a coach. And he's just one of those characters that I love seeing on the sideline. By the way, in 2012, Zambia beat the Ivory Coast. He then took over the Ivory Coast and won with the Ivory Coast. So a very famous coach who was also in charge of the French women's team.
Yeah, at the last World Cup. That Zambia tournament was one of the great stories, if you don't know it. Zambia had a famous team in the 70s that died in a plane crash, and the plane crash happened in Gabon. And then they came back in 2012 and won that AFCON in Gabon in the same location about 30 miles away from where the plane crash happened. And that ended up being their first ever AFCON.
There's actually a book that was written about it that you can look up.
Yep. You are reading books now.
Oh, well, I try.
We can get the Nobel. We'll get the next Nobel Prize set up.
2 sentences per page.
Well, yeah, we'll get the next Nobel Prize set up for you there as well. Hervé Renard, as he said, will be the manager of Saudi Arabia. And obviously they upset Argentina in the first game of the World Cup back in 2022. Because one of the things I've learned is in a World Cup, it feels like I think you actually want the best team first. Spain in 2010, they won the World Cup. They lost their opening game. Argentina in 2022. It feels like there's a feeling out period for teams as they get into a World Cup that think they're going to be there for a while, that they don't want to start too fast. And there's an opportunity right at the beginning.
Yeah, I think adversity gives you the impetus that perhaps you need to continue and have a good tournament. And we saw that with Spain and Argentina. But there was a lot of luck involved for those teams as well, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to mention that Spain beat Portugal, I think, in the quarterfinals with an offside goal scored by David Villa. But, I'm still not, I'm not bitter about that anymore. But again, that exact scenario is what I'm hoping for in this tournament because you have so many teams that people don't know that much about. You can prepare as a coach for any team now because there's so much information, but there's still something there that can surprise.
So we think, finally on the verge of the actual World Cup draw happening after what has been 45 plus minutes of festivities. So thank you to all of you who joined us for that. We think what we did was more fun than anything else you could watch. And now we're getting ready for the World Cup draw. We're going to be watching it just alongside you. And every time a name comes out, we will talk about it, and we will talk about what we have on tap. Let's take a look at our draw explainer graphic one more time before we start so that we can all kind of reset ourselves. So first, we will start with pot one, which are the 3 hosts and then the 9 highest FIFA-ranked teams that will be placed. Now, the 3 hosts have already been slotted into A, B, and D, so they're doing a bit of a fake draw right now where the balls are colored in a specific way so that they're ensured to be picked, and then they'll be placed into their groups. We know that Mexico City will host the World Cup opener at the Estadio Azteca. Mexico will be the first team, Toronto then for Canada, and then the U.S. will start in L.A., and that's why they have to be placed in those pots, and it's not a bad schedule to open up with.
Yeah, very dangerous to say fake and draw in the same
for
sense
sure.
in conspiracy
Justice
theory
for Patrick Ewing.
worlds. The one thing that is a topic of debate right now is the teams that have been where it's been designed and decided that they shouldn't face each other if they top their groups until the very latter stages of the competition. You're talking about Argentina, France, Spain, and England. I think the jury's still out whether that's a good decision, but I think it makes sense, at least from a strength of schedule on both sides of the bracket and also marketing.
One of the things that's going to make me laugh is when a bunch of those teams don't win their group. And it all goes up in the air, and they all end up facing off against each other earlier than expected.
And let's not forget that there is a curse for the World Cup winners.
Yeah.
Right? You remember France wins in 98, knocked out of the group stage in 2002, lose to Senegal in that tournament. Then Germany win in 2014, get knocked out of the group stages.
They've been getting knocked out since.
In 2018. Yeah. So I think there will be, I mean, if we believe in sort of those patterns and some sort of symmetry in these competitions, perhaps we'll see that with Argentina.
Yeah. We then, after this, we're going to go through pot one. We think it'll take about 12, 15 minutes. We will then get into pot two. Pot two, straightforward. Every team eligible to be drawn. They cannot be drawn into a pot with a country from the same confederation unless it's a UEFA team. There will be 4 groups with 2 UEFA teams in each one. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. This, by the way, in my mind, is really where we're going to get to start to see, okay, what's the danger for some of these groups? I have Japan and Morocco keyed as if they're in your group, you're in trouble. You're in trouble for 2 reasons. One, because you cannot get a team from their confederation later, especially for Japan. That means no Qatar, no Jordan, no Uzbekistan, which I think are some of the teams people are looking for. And then on the flip side with Morocco, you're talking about World Cup semifinalists.
Yeah, and you've got teams in pot 2 like Ecuador, who a lot of people are tagging as a dark horse in this tournament because they're so defensively solid and because they have a couple of world-class players. You're talking about Moises Caicedo, you're talking about Hincapié, who's now strutting his stuff for Arsenal, but also another team that perhaps may not be on the radar for a lot of people, Austria.
Yeah.
Ralph Rangnick has turned
a little
Austria,
Red Bull soccer.
A little bit of that high energy, intensity soccer that could disrupt a lot of the big teams. And I think that they disappointed a little bit in the European Championship, and they want to rehabilitate the image that they left in that tournament.
And Red Bull, that Austria style, I think that's one where we're going to be having this dark horse conversation over the course of this day. It's dark horse in 2 ways. Is it a team that could affect the group? Or is it a team that can make a deep run? I think Austria is one where I can't see that style in the heat with the turnarounds and with their experience winning a World Cup. But I don't want to see it in a group stage.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned something that we haven't talked about yet, and that is
the weather?
The weather.
Oh.
The weather, because it was a topic of conversation last summer. The 2025 Club World Cup, Gianni Infantino's enormous invention and moneymaker, right?
Yes.
Was disrupted, and I was actually commentating on
You
one
were
of those
at
games.
all the bad games.
Chelsea Benfica, and I think the delay was 3 hours long, and then Enzo Maresca was not very happy about it, despite his team winning. I remember being asked about it on TalkSport, what I thought would happen in the World Cup, and whether the weather would interrupt this tournament. Well, I obviously don't have any sort of abilities to foresee the future.
You just read the Farmer's Almanac every year.
But I would think that, yes, this is going to be a problem, and I'm not looking forward to, but I'm curious to see how it all plays out.
So one of the things with that, which is obviously crucial to all of this, as the hosts all get drawn in as expected into the groups that they were assigned, is unlike other years, we don't know the locations and times of the games as of today once they get drawn. There is going to be a second experience tomorrow, another stream, another broadcast. Why not? Well, actually, maybe we'll pop in to Legends and see if Enda has a little bit of extra space. I'll just sit in the corner with you. We'll go on an Instagram
drinks.
Live. Yeah, we're going to have to finish all of these at some point. Anyway, that's where we'll learn the schedule and locations for all of those games. So we won't 100% know today, like, oh, wow, a 4 p.m. game outside, that's going to be a Heat game. That's going to be a little bit of a struggle. We think we have a little bit of a framework. We're going to see how the draw plays out, and we'll start to speak to some of that in all of it. But that changes a little bit how we perceive this and what we know about this. Like, for one example, in Pot 2, Colombia, they are going to have one of the best fan supports.
Yeah.
But it will be a little different if it's on the East Coast than if it's, in Kansas City.
Yeah, we talked about Cape Verde. I call it Cabo Verde, very briefly.
Yeah, cool.
And they have, I learned recently, through you, I believe, that they have a population pool. I couldn't think of the exact term, excuse me.
Diaspora community.
Diaspora community. It wasn't diaspora that I was looking for. I was looking for something else. But that there are a lot of Cape Verdeans in Massachusetts.
Yes.
So imagine what it would be like if Cape Verde were to play at Foxborough.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams, because it's U.S., Canada, and Mexico that are countries of immigrants, there are a lot of teams that have massive support in specific areas. Now, my guess is if you're Uzbek and you live in the U.S. or Canada and they get drawn to a World Cup, you're probably going to travel as much as you can, but the crowds will, of course, be bigger. Endo was here talking about the support that they're going to have rolling through New York. I think the games at the Meadowlands are going to be pretty special in terms of the ability to bring in crowds. We saw it at the Club World Cup.
No, I don't know if this is correct, if memory serves me well, but I believe that before that matchup between Ireland and Italy, there was a lot of talk about having a split stadium for that game.
Like half-half.
But what we saw instead was how many more Irish fans there were in this country, in this city alone, who managed to silence the Italians, as did Roy Houghton's beautifully chipped goal over Gianluca Pagliuca.
Also, like we talked about when you want to see teams, I think the Italy fans were saving some stamina for later in the tournament, where the Ireland fans knew that was their moment to get as good as they can. We will have up, if you're watching on screen, so again, you don't have to go anywhere else. We have up this incredible graphic that Steve Marth put together for us, which is going to auto-populate as every single team gets drawn into the group they end up in. And we're going to leave that up on screen the entire time. So you don't have to worry about figuring it out anywhere else. We've got you covered, every single country with their flags and everything else set up. So Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. You talked about this a little bit with 1994. This is supposed to be a rocket ship moment for the sport. You moved here to play college soccer. You've played all over the country for fun, for less fun maybe sometimes the way you play. You've commentated. You've covered games. What do you make of what this means for these three countries?
Well, let me start with this, and I already mentioned a little bit of it. In 1994 was a formative tournament for me because of my age. The only drawback to that tournament was the fact that Portugal didn't play in that competition. And so my focus was on the United States, because my father, even though he wasn't born here, was an immigrant in the United States, a German-American. So I'll always remember Eric Winalda's free kick goal. It was a beauty in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
At the Pontiac Silverdome.
There you go.
Which
this
no longer exists.
This is why you have your own shows. And
that's a Pablo Maurer special right there.
Just how meaningful that goal was, because there was so much fear that the United States was going to be the first host nation not to make it out of the group stage, and then to play against Brazil and only lose 1-0. Of course, there's the whole story with Colombia and the own goal. I also supported, Nigeria and Bulgaria because of Krasimir Balakov, Yordanov, these guys who played for Sporting Amuniki. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because it was the first time in my life that I connected soccer to multiculturalism, to different countries. And I saw what it meant, not only to the world, but to the United States. I moved here in 1999. It was still difficult to watch soccer. Yeah. And now, fast forward to 2025.
You had to come to Legends.
Yeah, there are so many podcasts and whatever doing draws and all these television networks. There's so much competing information because the United States has now become the country where you can watch the most soccer in the world.
Yeah.
You can watch any league. All you have to do is pay for a provider. So to think that soccer can even grow bigger than that and compete with the top sports in the United States is remarkable to think about. It will galvanize Mexico. It will do to Canada what I think it will do to the United States, and Canada is perhaps a little bit behind the USA in that way.
You know, so I'm going to fight you on that, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be transformative.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I want to say in the chat right now, I'm getting called out for my East Coast bias, and I respect that. The crowds at the Rose Bowl, at Lumen Field, they were incredible for the Club World Cup, too. The River Plate fans were out there.
Yep.
Of course, Monterrey. And we saw the Japanese fans really show up. And I think that's where I'm most excited, which is there's these incredible communities around the U.S., Canada, and Mexico that are going to be invigorated when countries that they are from or their parents are from or have relatives come. But then the flip side is there are going to be cities that have never seen the Dutch national team fans or the Japanese national team fans, or in my mind, which I said in the opening video we did, the South Korea fans.
Yep.
The way they support. And I think that is going to end up being the superstar for many
100%.
non-soccer fans of this World Cup.
100%. I actually think that you hit the target with that one. The phase, there's so much that the United States has already learned about soccer and in many ways is caught up with the rest of the world. Fandom is going to be the next big thing. How people from different cultures celebrate the game itself before a match, during the match, during a goal. And I keep thinking of the Argentine teams, Boca Juniors, River Plate, and the Brazilian teams like Fluminense, who are here for the Club World Cup, and the pageantry that you saw in major American cities with these fans just laying it all out for their club, the color, it was the pomp and circumstance, it was amazing.
I mean, the Fluminense fans took over, or was it the Palmeiras fans took over the Brooklyn Bridge? That's only one of 26 clubs in Brazil of their supporters that could do that. I was on a street in Moscow in 2018 when I went to the World Cup for fun. And as you walk down the street...
a little bit of a flex there.
Just a quick one. As you walk down the street coming away from Red Square, what ended up happening by pure coincidence was every country just took a block. And you walk through the Argentine fans singing about Diego
kind of like Astoria.
Pretty much is what
Or
it's going to
Corona.
be like.
Yeah.
And they sing about Diego Maradona. You get to the next one, the Morocco fans are on the drums. Then you get to the next one, and you've got Germany fans. And that, to me, for all the games I saw, may be the most memorable part of that World Cup. And so now, like you said, whether it's in Corona Queens, whether it's in, the Power and Light District in Kansas City, whether it's in downtown Seattle or up on Queen Anne, don't worry, I know these places. I got
It's
it on
amazing.
lock. Wherever it is, it's just going to be something that we've never really seen before, and it's going to be really, really special. And just to push back real quick, I think Canada might have the best soccer team of the three hosts right now at this World Cup.
I was speaking culturally, although people in Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal probably disagree with me. Look, I've had the privilege to call MLS games all over this country and Canada, and I was amazed with the fans in Montreal.
Yeah.
Because Montreal is not a team that has done particularly well recently.
Yeah.
They had their forays in the CONCACAF Champions League when Wilfred Nancy, who's now departed MLS and gone to Celtic, which I'm very curious to see how that develops.
Congrats, Wilf.
Congratulations to him. Wonderful coach and really good person to talk to. Montreal hasn't been doing particularly well. Stadium always packed and always loud. So there are pockets everywhere, whether it's in Canada or in the United States, where you're going to have fervent fandom.
And we know that Canada will play in both Toronto and Vancouver, both the sites. So those are going to be huge events, and I know a couple Canadians who have already applied for tickets or have gotten tickets and are going to be there and engaged with that. And that team is a really cool collection of Vancouver grads, Montreal grads, Toronto. You've got, of course, Jonathan David, who comes from Ottawa.
Led by an American, by the way.
Yes, by Jesse Marsh, who, in my mind, is the perfect selection for that team. They are a team that has no history, that has to step on a field with a bunch of countries that do and say, we don't care. And no one embodies that more than Jesse Marsh, who doesn't care about anything besides the effort you put in individually.
Absolutely. And his predecessor had the same attitude when they went to Qatar and things didn't work out very well, right? Unfortunately, because Canada was a dark horse for a lot of people in that tournament, and Morocco, who were in the same group, were the team that ended up making all the noise. There was a point I was going to make that I forget, and hopefully
I'm excited
I'll
for it.
return to. So
I look
I'll
for-
let you take over from this point.
I look forward to it. And of course, for the Vancouver Whitecaps, they'll play an MLS Cup tomorrow, and I will be there as well. So if anyone is watching from Miami and is going to be in the area, I will come check it out.
I know the point that I was going to make. So some people will be priced out from the World Cup. Ticket prices are going to be expensive, and there are going to be people like me who are perhaps going to be scrounging for tickets unless I'm in the stadium actually doing something. But I had a conversation with Kevin Egan, who's a good friend of ours. He's a host of MLS, and right now he's in Miami for MLS Cup stuff. And one of the things that he said to me, which was so true recently, was you don't need to be at these games to really enjoy the World Cup, because most of the fun happens outside the stadiums. And that is so true.
And that was, for me, my first World Cup was in 2014. It was sort of a gift to myself in going down to Brazil.
You give a lot of gifts to yourself to
I'm
travel,
a very generous,
travel all over the
I'm
the
a very
world
generous
to watch
person.
World Cups. Yeah.
But I, as much as I wanted to go to a game, and I was so excited to finally get in the stadium, my first game was Japan, Ivory Coast. Got to see Didier Drogba, like all of that. I just wanted to be there. Like, you just want to be around it. And I think for most fans here in North America, you're never going to get the opportunity to do it because it's few and far between. Qatar was a weird trip, a tough trip coming out of COVID. So I think you're absolutely right. I think being around it is going to be key. And I know from people I've talked to as well, and you're in Charlotte, right? Not hosting games. It's going to be a huge event anyway because, first of all, it's the summer. What else are we doing? And second of all, everyone's going to be excited about what's going down.
Yeah, and Atlanta is not too far.
Yeah.
So you're expecting a lot of people who are going to drive down from Charlotte to watch games at Mercedes-Benz. And who knows? Maybe a national team will set up camp in Charlotte. Great facilities. I believe there's some interest. I don't know for sure. And that's actually something that we should be on the lookout for. Teams don't necessarily set up camp in the cities where they're going to play
For the most part,
play
they will
games,
not, yeah.
right? And so that becomes a show in and of itself. So that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
The month before the World Cup, there's going to be friendlies all over the U.S., Canada, and Mexico because teams are going to come for their base camps. They're going to start training, and they have to play games. They're not allowed to play them, is what we found out from that article where the U.S. announced that they will play the 4 teams that they're going to line up with. It's Portugal, right? Belgium, and then Germany, still waiting on one of the opponents. But
which will be that one of those games will be in Charlotte, by the way.
It will be in Charlotte and Chicago because they cannot be at a World Cup stadium, which means, like you said, for anyone who lives in a non-World Cup city, you're going to have the chance to go see some high-level friendlies before the World Cup because they have to go to other cities and they have to come be around you.
And you mentioned Chicago, and I think a lot of people who haven't been paying attention to the host cities will be surprised. Chicago is not, in fact, a host city because it is such it's a city which is populated by so many different types of soccer fans from different cultures, different backgrounds.
Yeah, it would have been a cool one. They were the one, who said, yeah, we're not going to deal with all the money and everything else and what it costs to host, and we'll see. But they may end up being one of the ones who was correct about that in the end of all of this. We also got the list over the last 7 days for the countries and stadiums, the cities and stadiums that are going to apply for the 2031 Women's World Cup, which we now know will be quad co-hosted. So if you thought this was complicated, we're going to add Jamaica and Costa Rica.
Don't forget what's going to happen in 2030.
That is true.
Right? So you got a tournament that's a World Cup that's going to be played in 3 continents, in Europe, in Africa, in South America, because it's the centennial. So, and because it's the centennial, they wanted to include the South American teams. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist. I think that if 3 countries are connected, it makes a little bit more sense, right? Because it's a North American World Cup.
The ocean in between.
Yeah. You know, the Atlantic Ocean. It's not like a pond.
No, it is not. Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of those where I thought for years before this even happened, I'm like, 2030 has to be back. Uruguay where it started, and my guess was it would have been Argentina as a co-host. And what the belief is if you put all of those countries in one World Cup, if you have the rotation process, which has been happening from federation to federation, you get 3 federations out the gate immediately. And guess what? From Qatar to Saudi Arabia, we get there a lot quicker than you would have expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you saying that wasn't the plan?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't work in
That's
any
quite
of
an
this.
accusation.
No one
that
asked
you're
me any
making.
questions. Apparently,
I don't know.
we're talking to a lot of people.
I just feel like there was an implicit message in there somewhere. You know.
Apparently, currently, we're talking to a lot of people who would know about that. I believe the World Cup draw will take about 5.5 hours. So we thought we'd be here for roughly 4 hours. Sorry already to the crew who's a part of this. We were off on our numbers. We undercalculated the overcalculation we made on the World Cup, and there's nothing we can do about it. Let's talk
You have
about
a way with words, my friend.
I know. Let's talk about the teams that we think are going to come out of pot one at some point in the next 45 minutes or whenever they choose to do it. One of them is your Portugal.
Yeah.
I made a video that Susanna voiced very well because she's one of the best. And the opening line was they won't win the World Cup because of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's the biggest name. He's 41 years old. He's going to set every record for oldest to do this, blah, 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 every goal. What is the feeling about this team as it feels like there's two leaders? There's Roberto Martinez and there's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Are there two leaders?
Am I wrong? Is it not a worry?
This is a hot topic in Portugal. We're really delving into this now.
Should we grab these?
Are
we ready to get in
Let's
these
start.
now? All right. Cheers to Stella. Thank you for the beer. Cheers to you. Cheers to everyone
My
here.
daughter's name.
Oh, there we go.
Artois. No, I'm kidding, Stella.
David Beckham approves this as well.
Let me just say, oh, that went down nicely. It's a hot topic because there have been little reminders of what Portugal can be without Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, like destroying Armenia in the final?
Destroying Armenia.
After he got suspended?
Some people might say, well, they would have destroyed Armenia regardless because Armenia had been knocked out in the previous game, in the penultimate group game, so they were never really going to try and lay a glove on Portugal. But I don't agree with that assessment. And I should also say, as I'm being long-winded, that I've ruffled a lot of Portuguese feathers because one of the things, there are a lot of Portuguese in this country, some not too far from here in Newark, where one of our good friends, Eric Figo Gonçalves, likes
getting ready to make you bifanas. I now found out.
Yeah, tomorrow. Can't wait for that. And
pork chops for the pork chop is what he said.
So a lot of them have criticized me for my takes on Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Portugal personally go further without Cristiano Ronaldo as a starter.
Right.
Because it becomes more about the collective. And then you have a collective made up of, 4, 5, 6, 7 superstars? Whereas if you play with Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to tailor your game to his strengths and his weaknesses, and that means you're not pressing as much.
Right.
And one of the things that Portugal does well when he doesn't play is press.
So tell me something, though. Can they get him off the field? That's why I talk about two leaders.
So I was hoping FIFA was going to do that with the suspension.
He was supposed to be suspended and then FIFA unsuspended
So
him,
when he got red carded...
Ecuador is watching closely because Moises Caicedo is currently suspended for the first game.
I texted somebody, I don't know, when he got red carded against Ireland. Was it against Ireland?
Yeah.
I wrote to someone, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Gonzalo Ramos, get ready. You're starting in the World Cup. And, of course, that's not going to pass. And I just don't think, to your former comment about two leaders, I don't think Roberto Martinez has the intestinal fortitude to now say to him, you're not starting. Especially as he's chasing his 1,000th, hard word to say, goal. I could have said goal 1,000. And that could potentially happen in the World Cup.
So one of the things, and I'm not a huge gambler, but I like to use the betting odds as ways to just benchmark, like, what does the experts, the analysts, and all of that say about what could happen. Portugal have the highest odds of a team that's never won the World Cup to win the World Cup. They're actually 5th highest before the draw starts, which will obviously affect things because of matchups.
I think it was the same in 2002 in Japan and Korea.
Oh, really?
And they ended up getting knocked out in the group stage.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like you talked about in 94, they weren't even qualifying. Before 2002, they were not a consistent World Cup team about where this team now sits and where the soccer sits coming out of that country.
Let me just give some respect to Eusébio, one of the greatest Portuguese stars born and raised in Mozambique in Africa, but who became the greatest Portuguese player until Cristiano Ronaldo. 3rd place in 1966 World Cup.
Yep.
Okay? So let's take that
And then we waited 40.
And then we went to 1982, knocked out at the group stage because of a very good Morocco national team. But Portugal have always been seen as underdogs, and that has both helped them and hindered them.
Yeah.
Because it's helped them because it's eased expectations everywhere except Portugal, I should say. But it also it hinders them because then sometimes they would go into games, no matter how many stars they had, against big opponents and played like underdogs. And I don't mean with some ferocity and fearlessness, but with like the attitude of, oh man, we're playing a Germany.
Yeah.
We're playing a Netherlands. this could be bad for us.
Yeah.
We're playing France. I think so. So the same is true now when they're regarded as one of the favorites. They can go in overconfident, which I don't like, and with the burden of expectation that they have to deliver on the promise. The other, and I'll make this very short, the other part of it is, for the first time, even though Portugal had a lot of superstars in the past in the golden generation, Luís Figo, Rui Costa, Fernando Couto, guys who won.
Maniche.
Deco. Maniche.
I'm just going to start yelling
Deco, born in
accents.
Brazil. These are Portuguese superstars who are absolutely winning everything. Look
Yes.
at Vitinha, for example, at PSG,
Right.
and Nuno Mendes. So there's a different attitude going into this tournament. So I think the critical part is going to be the Cristiano Ronaldo story. I really think it's going to come down to him.
We are being told that Rio Ferdinand is finally on stage. So we are like probably only 37 minutes away from the pot one being drawn. And luckily, because FIFA already placed half these teams in, there's like no excitement about pot one. So I'm really excited for this to hit.
Can we then, not to hijack your rundown.
I got nothing. I can leave if you want to do a solo show.
I want you to talk a little bit about the host nations because, in my view, I'm thinking that a lot of these teams in pot 2, 3, and 4 are thinking, I want to be in the same
Yes.
group as the
Yeah.
United States, Mexico, and Canada.
Yeah.
And it's funny to say that about Mexico, but even under El Basque Aguirre, they haven't exactly lit the world on fire. What do you make of that?
So I think all three of them are in different phases of the development of where they are, although there's some similarities. I think one of the big fears, and we talked about it around AFCON, is with the lack of competitive games for all of them, there was just no way to judge. So we're in a weird spot right now where everyone's trying to schedule these hard friendlies, but you're not going to play the same in a friendly.
Right.
And, like, how much are we going to take from Canada tying Ecuador in a friendly? Like, is that a good result? Is that a bad result? 0 people were in the stadium. I didn't even go, and I live 15 miles away from the stadium.
Yeah.
So I think part of that is really, really tough. On the Canada side of things, they will be the team everyone wants to play the most because I think there will be a feeling for people that it won't be as maybe intimidating of an environment. The Azteca, the Estadio Akron in Guadalajara, like those are going to be loud stadiums, although that might be bad for Mexico, which I think is a false sense of security for a lot of people. Yeah. And I just think that Canada team, they are going to be the one of the 3 that plays with nothing to lose. And I think the other 2 are going to play being worried that as a host country, they're going to underperform. And I think that's where Canada has set themselves up, which is they qualified for the last World Cup. They did it on merit. So now they're not worried about what the U.S. was in 94, what South Africa was in 2010, what Qatar was of, okay, we have to prove we deserve to be there.
Right.
They don't have that. So then on top of that, they come into a World Cup with a little more experience, and I think they can attack things. And that's who Jesse Marsh is. And it fits the playing style. It fits the players who want to play on the front foot, who want to attack the game, but maybe can't dominate games in possession the same way. It fits Alphonso Davies.
Canada, Austria. Can you imagine?
It would be a track meet.
Mentor versus mentee and the style of football. By the way, I'm glad I asked you that question because it seems like you've been thinking about this for a while, and I agree with your assessment. I think you're 100% correct about it. Moving on to the United States, one of my questions going into the friendlies is how much trimming will Pochettino have done by that point? Because when talking about the kind of intensity that you go into a friendly with, if there are players who are still vying for positions, I think you're going to see that intensity from the U.S. men's national team, unless Pochettino, come March, is already like, listen, these are my guys. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be there at that point.
I can't imagine that happens. 1, because he hasn't had enough time. And 2, and I'll be the first to put my hand up. I've mocked him for it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Him and his staff are very locked into the idea that they can sense things from players and they need to see it. I think they're not a group that calls a club coach and says, tell me about this player, and then they go, that's all I need to know.
But that's a good thing.
It has been a great thing because it has meant everyone comes into camp every time believing they've got a shot. Yeah. Everyone comes in wanting to fight for something, and no one has had anything guaranteed, which, by the way, is not a knock on Greg Berhalter. It's a knock on the way the process was set up, that there's only so much time. I mean, you saw it with Santos. There's only so much time a coach can be a part of something, and there's only so much time that you can go through that and continue to fight things. So for that point, I don't think the U.S. is going to struggle in those moments. And I would say, and I think we'll look back on this in a year or 2 or maybe 20, the last window of games are going to be considered some of the most important moments in U.S. soccer history.
The ones that were just played, like against Uruguay, for example.
Yes. against Uruguay and Paraguay and Japan in the way they've taken the pressure off. Like this event, we're not watching Fox, but we can assume that Alexi Lalas has said 15 times America's the greatest country in the world, in his opinion, and all of that. The entire broadcast would have been about how bad the U.S. is, how bad the U.S. is. And it has taken so much of that pressure away.
Yeah.
And I think it has allowed the U.S. to go into this, yeah, this is a silly part, but the next 4 months and be like, okay, there's a little bit of benefit of the doubt with this group, with the squad and with the coach, which has not existed since the end of the 2022 World Cup.
Yeah, what he's also done is he's elevated Major League Soccer. Unintentionally, perhaps. He came out with a statement months ago where he said MLS is a very good league, and he's not wrong about that. But in the way that he's trusted certain players to be integral to his development or to the development of the team, I think of Max Arfson, and now bringing in Christian Roldan into the mix, who I think is going to make this team.
Yeah.
And Max Arfson as well. It shows that not only, or it speaks to the point that you made, that everybody can compete, and if you're going to be there, you're going to get the opportunity. Matt Freese is another guy who I think is going to be the starter in the World Cup, and he's become the guy, because I remember Tim Howard saying, I want to see more confidence and leadership from Matt Freese. He hasn't been in this position before, but then you saw in those friendlies, and you saw in the playoffs with New York City,
he was huge.
that he was becoming that guy. He's believed the hype about himself, and good for him.
Right.
And good for him. And it shows that MLS is such a competitive league that it will attract more players to that league in the short term and make the league even better and develop even more talented American internationals.
And I think it brings this team into a space where Greg Berhalter said 6-7 years ago he wanted to change the way people viewed American soccer. And that wasn't just results. He wanted them to play in a way that they were known, similar to, for Spain, you know, for 40 years, they were a good team, but they didn't really have an identity. Then tiki-taka, then they become that. Obviously, that's the extreme in the U.S. probably wasn't going to get there. And I think the hope was that that would all be peaking at 2026. That's all out the window in my mind. Now it's just about results. Can you earn fans? Can you do something historic in an opportunity? And where they sit right now, it's not about how it looks and how it happens. It's just about the results. And I think those friendlies showed, okay, there's enough fight and grit and all the cliches we can throw around there that I'm sure Carly Lloyd mentioned on the broadcast as well, that can be there. So I think that is
I feel like you have an agenda.
I do not at all. I will say this, though, on my agenda. Aaron Judge is not even one of the best players in New York.
What is it,
I saw him come on stage.
Hockey?
Yes.
Okay.
You're very, very close
Yes.
on that one. Okay, so we believe we're on the verge of getting our Pot 1 team. So a reminder that the way it's set up this year, we already have the 3 teams that we've placed in terms of the hosts into our bracket. So we have the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And then we are going to get the top 4 teams in the FIFA rankings, which is Spain, Argentina, France, and England. They're all going to get drawn, and then they're all going to get placed in separate quadrants. One of the things to watch in Pot 1 is because there are third-place qualifiers at this World Cup, some group winners are going to play a second-place team in the round of 32, which is the new round. Some are going to play a third-place team. I don't know how that will end up, but it feels like a slight advantage to be in a group that is lined up against a third-place.
Well, it depends who that third place team is.
But going into it, you'd rather that.
Yes, absolutely. The odds are in your favor that you're going to meet or encounter a significantly weaker team. But I just think I look at these pots, and this is a testament to how much the game has developed globally.
Yeah.
There was a point in time, let's take it back to 1994, where teams who were at the best, for historical reasons, and then for the development of coaching methods, they could basically sequester information, and other teams couldn't learn anything. You didn't have the game was globalized, but it wasn't globalized by the internet.
Yeah.
Right. And now everybody has access to the best methodology. You have players from every country. You have a player from Uzbekistan who's a starter sometimes for Manchester City. And so what that's done is it hasn't equalized, it hasn't leveled everything, but there's a much shorter distance in quality between teams right now. And I think that's one of the things that is going to play out throughout this World Cup.
And one of the things when you look at some of these teams, which is interesting, what you say completely true, if you look at like the pot of players, and I think most people colloquially will say the top 5 leagues in the world, whether you still count them or not. If you look at the players who play in those leagues and you say there's 20 teams in everyone, there's 25 players on a team, there are more international players from different countries in every single one of those teams.
Yep.
There has been less, I believe it's Italy and Argentina are the 2 countries that have taken a half step back. And then to fill that has been Honduran players, Costa Rican, Uzbek players, players from South Korea. I mean, the Japanese national team coach is saying, I might relocate to Europe for the next 6 months so I can monitor my players better, because pretty much everyone who is going to be in the main part of his group plays in Europe. And so because of that, all those practices, and then also just the confidence and experience of like, I know these guys. Yeah. This is
I play against him in training.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes is one of the best attackers in the world, but I've been against him or I've faced off against him. And I think that experience is going to be really, really big for a lot of those teams. We believe that we are finally going to be heading into, I don't know, some countries coming out of a pot and some countries being drawn. And as I said, those will all be located around. So we have those top 4 teams. We talked about Portugal. We haven't talked as much about these next few teams that are coming in. There, to me, is 2 gaps here. There's Brazil, and there are the Netherlands, and then there's Belgium and Germany behind that. For Brazil, it has been a chaotic World Cup qualifying cycle, largely because they fired their coach. They thought Carlo Ancelotti would join earlier. He stayed with Real Madrid. Then they fired their coach. Then Carlo Ancelotti takes over. In my mind, there could not be a better coach for Brazil, though, than Carlito.
I feel like that's the consensus. I'm not 100% convinced yet.
Tell me why.
Because I feel like the team is talented, but this is not a Brazilian team that is as talented as many of its predecessors. And I think that when you lack a little bit of talent, not to say that they're not talented, but when you don't have as much as you think you do, the collective and the tactics become integral to your success. And Ancelotti, for me, and many people disagree with this, with my point of view on this, he is an X's and O's guy, but he's not a guy who puts most of the onus on the X's and O's. For him, it's about the chemistry, the arm around the shoulder, do your thing. This is a very basic structure that I'm implementing for you, and then do your thing. And I'm not sure whether that is going to translate well onto the field.
So I think that's fair. Where I would push back is I think Brazil has the talent. I think they have, on their day, 5 match winners in the attacking spots who can be the best player on the field. I think Vinny Jr. is there. Esteval, we've seen.
But he's never really performed for Brazil.
For sure, but he's a young player, and he's finally without Neymar. And who has he performed most for in his career?
Ancelotti. He loves Ancelotti, and Ancelotti loves him, and that was part of the equation. Look,
But I'd say Militao and Gabriel.
Yeah, it's still a great team.
Yeah.
It's still a great team. But it's not, for me, it's not a team that strikes fear in the hearts of other teams.
Yeah.
And that's what Brazil have always done. What are they doing for center forward, by the way?
Yeah.
Is Vinicius going to be the center forward? He's been playing in a more central role since Ancelotti took over because they felt like he was too marginalized on the wings. Matheus Cunha, what's his role? I think there are a lot of questions about Brazil. I think we're getting some balls here.
Yeah, we're going to get some countries pulled out of some pots for now. They are the ones we expect. Brazil, the first one.
Yep.
It's going to be a big World Cup for them. I've talked about this many times on our shows and our platforms. To me, there's nothing more romantic in the game than the Brazilian yellow jersey on the field at a World Cup.
For sure.
Like, that is soccer in my
sure.
mind. And they, of course, are the all-time winners of a World Cup. They've won a World Cup in Mexico already. Pele lifted the trophy in the Azteca. They've won a World Cup here in the United States as well back in 1994. And they will have fans wherever they go. So they're getting placed into Group C, directly between Canada and the U.S., and then we'll continue to move on and get all of the teams out. But I think this is the best Brazil roster of the last 10 years. Neymar may have been the best player, but I didn't feel like they had the pieces in central midfield and at center back to really play. Fullback's a bit of an issue, but I have to go into a World Cup with a weakness at a position for my team.
I mean, you're saying that guys like Thiago Silva and Marquinhos, who were the heavyweights in a back four for Brazil.
But not always at the right times in their career.
Perhaps.
Age was an issue at some times.
Yeah.
Central midfield
Although
even bigger.
Thiago Silva, ageless, essentially.
I mean, he still plays. He played literally at the Club World Cup. So Germany getting pulled in to their group as well. Germany are an interesting one. I talked to a Germany fan this week, and they sort of said, if we can get what we got in the Euros, great, which is positive momentum going in the right direction. It is so wild to think that we are in a world in which Germany doesn't expect to win every World Cup they step into.
Yeah. I think they were humbled in 2018. I think that's something. You lose players like Toni Kroos, who was such a big leader, a metronome in their midfield. You bring in a Julian Nagelsmann to be the head coach of a team with the kind of coaching mentality that is best suited for a club, because there are so many intricate details in his footballing blueprint that I think that you need an extended amount of time with your team in order to make sure that they translate properly onto the field. And he'll have that in camp. I think he will. But Germany also right now, some of the superstars either injured or not playing at their level. Think of Wirtz, for example. Florian Wirtz is not playing
and Jamal Musiala.
very well. Musiala is injured.
That's
so
the key.
They're missing key players. How will those players, or in what form will those players be when the World Cup kicks off?
Yeah, that is the whole story for this Germany team. It's the health of Ter Stegen, which luckily for them has bounced back, which is really, really big as he's become the full-time starter again for Barcelona. But then it's Jamal Musiala and Wirtz.
Ter Stegen is not playing right now for Barcelona, so he's fit.
He's fit.
He's fit. There's been a lot of acrimony about his continuing to be a Barcelona player because he was a captain.
Yeah.
They tried to get rid of him. I think he took it to the league office because they've got the kid that they got, whose name I can't think of right now, that they brought from Espanyol to be their starting goalkeeper, and he's now the starter. So there are question marks in between the sticks as well, but Germany has a lot of depth in that position.
So Argentina and Spain pulled out of the pots, so they are in Group H and Group I. And those two groups, they would not face off until the final if they were to go on to win their groups, which is, as we talked about earlier, one of the big changes at this World Cup. It would be, as I talked about, a moment. Oh, and now we get Argentina moved to Group J. Sorry, because they had to be because of the way the draw is set up. It would be, I mean, this whole story is it would be Lamine Yamal against Messi. It would be the final. It would be the handoff. And to me, as good as Mbappe is, the next of the GOAT convos that we will see is going to be Lamine Yamal.
By the way, did you see the GOAT, Ray Hudson, describe Lamine Yamal?
For 60 minutes.
For 60 minutes. I mean, Ray Hudson is just one of the greatest things that happened to soccer in this country. That's a beautiful flag on the screen. Is that Portugal?
Portugal is getting ready to come out of the pot, one of the last two teams out. We just saw France come out. France are trying to do something no one has done since 1962 and go to a third straight World Cup final. 2002. As Portugal come out and they get into Group K.
Group Krakaeur.
Krakaeur. That was just for you.
Oh, my God. It's all lining up.
Well, also, I would like to see how heated or cold that ball was that you set it up so that it would be Group K. It would be the gap there is pretty intense.
Yeah, but there's a consistent factor. Didier Deschamps.
Yeah.
He's tournament tested, both as a player and as a coach. He will not change his ways no matter how much pressure he gets from the French press and from the French in general about his defensive style of play and looking to play in transition. Why would he when he's got the best transitional players in the world game? You know, add to Kylian Mbappe, you got the Ballon d'Or winner in Ousmane Dembélé. You got Barcola as well on the wings. You got Desiree Doué, who's injured. Let's see how he recovers from his hamstring injury. By the way, Club World Cup having an impact on people's hamstrings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no doubt. I'm a scientist. I know the answer to that. But.
So we finally have our first full group of the World Cup. Every single group has one team now. We have gone through pot one. And on that note, let's watch a quick video a little bit more about Spain, and then we're going to have our friend Claudia Pagan come join us. By the end of July, Lamine Yamal will have solidified himself as Ballon d'Or winner after leading Spain to their second World Cup win. The youngest player to ever play or score in a European Championship now gets his first shot to star on the biggest stage of all. Last time Spain won at Euros in 2008, it started one of the most dominant four-year runs in international soccer history. Can this new generation, led by Yamal, Pedri, and Nico Williams, mimic the greatness of the team that won everything while introducing the world to tiki-taka? Of course, the star player of this group is Yamal. The teenager's already led the Spanish team in some of their biggest moments. The Phenom has set pretty much every record for youngest player to achieve this, for youngest player to feature in this. Everything you can do. And in what will surely be Messi and Ronaldo's World Cup swan songs, this is a huge chance for Yamal to solidify his name. It's been understandably rocky at times as Yamal's grown up in the public eye. but his production on the field has never suffered. And while you don't get much younger than Yamal, he isn't the only young star worth knowing on this Spanish team. His counterpart is Nico Williams. The Bilbao graduate and mainstay is must watch anytime he's near the ball, capable of beating anyone 1v1 and scoring big goals, like the opener in his man of the match performance against England in the 2024 Euro final. And there's reason to believe, coming off that final, that Spain is fully back at the international level. With FIFA's new rules to the draw, if Argentina and Spain both win their groups, then they wouldn't be able to meet until the World Cup final. And if that's the case, by the end of July, on the field in New Jersey, Lamine Yamal could be taking the mantle of best and biggest in the world from Leo Messi himself. All right, well, we are going to be doing one of those videos about every single country at the World Cup. Susanna will be on most of them because she is a lot better at it than I am, and I've scripted all of them. But we have a large kickback committee, and we've got another one here in Claudia Pagan. Claudia, you were delayed a little, so I asked FIFA to wait for you. And so Gianni really took it to heart.
They delayed it by like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I've been here for a while.
You went to D.C. and you came back.
Oh, I had time to do that, didn't
You
I?
did. You are a D.C. native.
I am. I'm from Maryland, so D.C. I called that DMV area home for 29 years.
Yeah. No games, but they got the draw.
Exactly.
Which is good or bad.
How can you have the World Cup in the U.S. and not have Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, as a host city?
Yeah. I think it's helpful that Dan Snyder ran one of the worst organizations and couldn't get a stadium built.
Not even Baltimore?
Yeah. That would have been cool. Baltimore's a great city.
We eventually had to give up the D.C. bid, and I think it just went to Baltimore. But it's all right. It's all right. We've got several great cities in the U.S. It's okay. We're going to go up and down the coast.
So we're going to get pot 2 starting to get drawn in, and we're going to learn a lot about some of these matchups. And we get Mexico against Korea as our first group that we learn about. But before we dig fully into that, what are you most excited about this World Cup?
We've been talking about it a lot on Morning Footy, is kind of the pros and cons of this expanded field. The con is that maybe you got some matchups that aren't as favorable as you have had in the past. It feels like maybe some matches, shall I say, maybe don't matter as much because you might have a really big dog here against a nation that you know might not be able to get the job done. But the pro is you see we have 4 nations that are in this World Cup for the first time ever.
Love a debutante.
Which is absolutely, and you see it. I mean, like, I know Haiti isn't one of the they've been in it before, but the way that we could see Haiti, all those people celebrate and what it means for the debutantes. So to me, that's what I'm most excited about, is just to see the passion from all of these nations.
And there is our first monster. Brazil got Morocco as their team in Group C. That is going to be absolutely absurd. Morocco, of course, first African team to make it as a semifinalist at a World Cup back in Qatar. And now they're going to be facing off against Brazil. And we are now on the verge of learning who the U.S. will get, as Canada has drawn Switzerland. And as you see these teams placed into our graphic alongside us, they are predetermined where the spots are, rather than it was in past years where there was a second draw happening. So Shaquille O'Neal taking out the ball for the See Who the U.S.'s Pot 2 team.
It has to be good.
At the World Cup.
Australia!
And it's Australia!
Won!
And the applause is for a certain reason. I did rankings of the teams you most want, and Australia was the highest team.
Yeah, that's in the dream group. Australia
is in the dream group, yes. Now, one of the issues is it now takes away the ability for a Qatar or a Jordan or an Uzbekistan to end up in your group. But to avoid a Morocco, a Croatia, a Colombia is worth it, I think, for that trade-off.
I feel bad celebrating a little bit. I hope
What,
there's
for
no
the Aussies?
There's no Aussies listening to us right now.
I can guarantee 2 things. They're going to show up and they're going to drink a lot.
That is very true. The way that Group C is shaping out, Brazil, Morocco, could that potentially be the group of death? That's what I'm seeing at the current moment.
Ecuador now drawn into a group with Germany. Ecuador were the best defensive team in South America for the World Cup. So that is going to be a really strong team. I think Eric mentioned before. They're a team that I think that could be a dark horse. But what a draw for the host. I think you could argue the hosts have done as well as possible in Korea, Switzerland, a little bit tougher, and Australia. When you look at the options, which would have been Colombia, Japan, Morocco, Croatia, I think you would take any of those 3 teams instead. Yeah.
Japan is one that always kind of you don't think about until you play them and you go, ooh.
And they seem like a country, as they're about to get drawn out alongside the Netherlands, they seem like one that they believe their time is now. Their time to take the next step. They've challenged themselves. They just beat Brazil 3-2 in a friendly that they hosted. They brought Brazil there for that reason. And now we get them alongside the Netherlands, which is going to be
That's
a
gonna
tasty
be,
matchup.
That's going to be a good. Ooh, I'm now kind of thinking. I mean, would you have a group of death with Japan in it? Would you?
I think
could
that's
you
a
have
huge possibility
Yeah.
because then you also can't get those teams I
Yeah.
mentioned. So there's a chance we end up with a UEFA team in there, like a Denmark or Italy.
Yeah.
There's a chance
Ooh.
we end up with Norway in that group still. Norway are one of the big names to watch. They
You
are
know-
probably the best team in pot 3.
What's very interesting to me is Italy. They still aren't qualified yet.
but we keep
They're in the
talking about
But
them.
we keep talking about that. But the way people talk about it is nobody wants to face Italy.
Yes. I think it would be unfortunate if you got a team out of pot 4 and they had won the World Cup 4 times and had a league that's considered one of the best in the world.
The way that they've been playing lately, you go, ooh, like, should
Yeah.
we be scared of them? But it's the World Cup,
Yeah.
and everyone shows up,
Yes.
regardless of how it was coming into
And
it.
I think for them, if they can just get over the line and get there, I
Yeah.
think that's, like you said, like the qualifying seems to be the issue. But they get to Euros
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
go to finals, they
Yeah.
win it. So if they can just get to that stage, I think it's huge. That is a really interesting draw there. Uruguay against Spain. Marcelo Bielsa's Uruguay against Spain.
Who haven't been doing well.
No,
They
have
haven't been
not.
doing well.
And they are not like full Bielsa. And that's one of the things that's really hard
Yeah.
about this setup is he has such a style, but it takes so much. It took Chile like 6 years to become his true team. Senegal against France, a redo of the 2002 World Cup opener, arguably the greatest moment in Senegal soccer history. That is, of course, two French-speaking nations alongside each other. That is pretty cool. We're getting the last 3 teams to come out of pot 2 here in this World Cup. So far, we have some pretty strong groups, as we mentioned, Netherlands,
Yeah.
Japan, Brazil, Morocco, and I think that France-Senegal group as well could be a really big one. Of course, then with Senegal, it takes off the other African teams that could be in that group, which maybe makes it a little bit easier going forward. We now get Austria, and it looks like they're going to go
will that
into a
go
group with
to?
Argentina. It's their first World Cup in 28 years. That's math on the fly.
Did you guys talk about Argentina already?
Not really.
In the preview?
What do you have?
No, I'm curious to think what you think about Argentina's chances. Because, I mean, on Morning Footy today, Nico Cantor was talking about Argentina. Obviously, we're talking about how strong of a team they are, but how maybe we would favor an England side.
Yeah.
Like, he has more confidence in an English side.
So Argentina, I didn't realize this. They are the oldest team at the World Cup.
Yeah.
They have an average starting age of 30. It's basically the same team without Di Maria.
Yeah.
Which that part is the most worrying part for me with travel, heat, Messi. Can he do it again this far
Yeah.
down? Because last World Cup, as good as the soccer as they played, it was, can we contain the game and have Messi win it? Is he that same guy? And yeah, he can at times, but can he do it as often?
Yeah.
I think question marks about Argentina are fair. I think there should be reason to believe that this could be a big drop off for them. I'm sorry, I stumbled over.
Who got picked into
So we got Croatia, England, which is a 2018 World Cup semifinal rematch. But Portugal, Colombia is going to be delicious soccer. That gets me hyped. And we're going to have Eric Krakaeur at some point come flying
I want to
through
hear
this
what he's
set,
going to say. Where is he?
For that one. As you see Thomas Tuchel, as they get Croatia in that England group. Croatia, another one. It just feels like every time we count them out, they're back in.
100%. If they could make it, they've made it to the semifinals the past 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
Can they do it again? Luka Modric leaves Real Madrid. People are like, can he do the same over in Serie A? Yeah, he can. Why would you ever doubt him?
Yeah. So we now have all of our pot 2 teams placed and some massive matchups: France, Senegal, Netherlands, Japan, Brazil, Morocco. And a lot to digest there already. It also, reminder, takes some things off the board. Group L can't have another UEFA team. So now whatever UEFA playoff team or a Norway in pot 3, they have to go into a different group. We're going to start eliminating the possibilities of what can happen for a lot of these teams, which means we're probably going to end up with some pretty tough groups going forward. But that was a delicious start. Let's go to a quick video to learn a little bit more about Senegal before we get into pot 3. Now they're cruising.
Wow.
Yeah, you want to just come sit in my
now
seat?
they go quick.
Senegal's team. Can a lion be warm and friendly? In Senegal, apparently yes, as they're represented by the Teranga lions. Teranga is a Wolof phrase for hospitality, warmth, and community. And Sadio Mane is the embodiment of that dichotomy, a smiling, humble, cold-blooded assassin. Senegal are a country synonymous to many with the World Cup, and they're trying to make history once again. From their 1960 independence through 2002, there wasn't any success in Senegal's soccer history. But then all of a sudden, in Seoul, South Korea on May 21st, 2002, the Lions found their crowning achievement, knocking over former colonizer and reigning World Cup champions France in the opening game of that tournament. The players in that squad would reshape Senegalese soccer on and off the field. The team went to the quarterfinals in Asia, equaling the best finish ever for a team from Africa, and then proceeded to make their first AFCON final. The captain of the side, Aliou Cisse, went on to become manager of his country and led them to the last 2 World Cups and a first AFCON title win in 2021. It was therefore a huge shock when he was let go as head coach midway through an almost flawless qualifying campaign, but his former teammate and assistant, Pape Thiaw, will look to continue to inspire the squad. Well, we already mentioned Sadio Mane, unquestionably the standalone greatest in Senegal's history. The all-time leading goal scorer has dominated on the club level, winning the EPL Golden Boot, UCL titles, Premier League titles, and pretty much everything else in between. On the younger side, there's been success for Senegal as well. They won the African U17, U20 Cup of Nations, and the African Nations Championship. So the feeling is the next generation is coming along really well. There are many names that will emerge, but it's looking like the most impressive will be Lamine Camara, a 21-year-old box-to-box dominant central midfielder at Monaco who is already considered one of the best set-piece takers on the planet. While the World Cup is hard enough to manage, the self-inflicted wounds caused by political interference and firing a legendary coach only makes things more difficult for Senegal. But they're hoping that their legendary stars in Mane and Kalidou Koulibaly can mix with their young stars for a special tournament run. You can get a deeper dive into Senegal and all other qualified nations in our other podcasts.
All right, welcome back. Suze can't be with us in person, but she is definitely all over the coverage, which we love to hear.
She is, and of course we need her help. With everything that's happening so fast as well. And now the pot 3 teams are about to be picked. I'm trembling from Colombia, Portugal.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Not great. One of the teams that I wanted to avoid. So let's see what comes next.
Waiting to see who gets picked in
South
pot 3.
Africa.
South Africa joining Mexico.
And
Korea.
Korea and Mexico playing each other in 2018 in a World Cup. Mexico beating Korea 2-1. So they'll be familiar to each other. Group B is developing into a very interesting group.
Waiting to see who goes
Qatar.
into Group B. Qatar, that automatically goes into Group B, right? With Canada and Switzerland.
What did they say? Group of death, and then there's the group of life. And I think we're starting to identify the first group of life, which is
B?
Group B. Who's the favorite so far of these 3? Canada, because they're playing at home. Switzerland has done recently, they've done quite well, getting into the rounds of 16, quarterfinalists in Euro 2020. So I would say that they have the edge in that group so far, but a group of life.
And moving on to Group C, it looks like Paraguay was just picked. So they'll move into that Group C with Brazil. And who else do we have there? Morocco.
Well, they're going to have to be moved forward because because Paraguay and Brazil can't be in the same group.
Oh, right.
So they end up in Group D with the United States and Australia. Well, this is interesting because they've just recently played each other, and there were a lot of handbags at the end of that game. Gustavo Gomez getting involved with, I forget who was the U.S. player who was trying to take the ball away from him. But they've got, Paraguay is a good team, especially defensively. They're not going to allow many chances. You've got Alderete, the center back from Sunderland, who's going to be playing out alongside Gustavo Gomez. You know, it's just and Ciso up front, good team. But so far, I think a very manageable group for the United States. Yeah.
Favorable for you. Who's been picked next?
Oh, wow. That's Germany, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador in one group. I think that's developing into a little bit of a group of death. Ecuador, fantastic in the South American qualifiers. they're littered with talent, have some world beaters, and now you have the Ivory Coast, which is one of the best African teams. Not necessarily consistent, never got out of the group stage. I believe this is their 4th appearance in the World Cup, but difficult teams for Germany to handle. So I can imagine that they're not best pleased with what they're seeing right now.
So right now for you, which one's looking like most like the group of death?
Right now, I would say with Group B. Group B so far.
Waiting to see who gets picked. All right, Tunisia, along with Netherlands and Japan in Group F.
Again, one of those groups that you could say perhaps is a group of life. Netherlands are a good team, but they lack the firepower. I think they're still very dependent on Memphis Depay. Japan is a very good team. I think they'll look at this group favorably, thinking that they could top it, potentially. But you never know what you're going to get from Tunisia.
Starting to pick up speed here. It's funny how quickly or how slowly it had to start off with pot A, and now we're flying.
We're flying
through
it.
pot 3. Looking to see who goes in group.
So we got Belgium, Egypt, and Iran. So you got a African Confederation, you got UEFA, and you've got Asia in there.
Scotland. Which group are they falling into?
I've lost my way here, and so have the...
I was looking to see who they were highlighting down there, but I think they're trying to figure out where they put Scotland.
Yeah, they haven't decided. There we go. So Scotland get thrown into Group C.
With
because
Brazil
you had
and
so many
Morocco.
African teams and South American teams. Well, Scotland, the last time Scotland won a World Cup was in 1998. John Collins scored a penalty in a 2-1 loss against Brazil. And I believe the opening game of that competition. I think I'm aging myself. So I'm not sure Scottish fans.
Not aging yourself, just showing the knowledge that you know. That's
right.
it.
Wisdom right there.
And we continue with the pot 3 draw. Who is just chosen here?
Wow, that's a very interesting group. Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland. So Saudi Arabia. There's Hervé Renard, best dressed man in world football. And there's La Fuente.
And Saudi getting drawn into H with Spain and Uruguay. Spain being the absolute favorite here in the World Cup.
The absolute favorite, and for good reason. But I think that Uruguay is one of those teams that, playing at their best, can beat just about anyone. So
but do you like this? Do you like this for Spain? Does it feel rather easy for them here?
I think, again, easy. I don't like using the word easy, but I'll use it manageable, right?
Okay,
And what did you say? Favorable was the word that you used. I think is a great word to use. So Algeria goes now.
Argentina.
So it's
and
Group J is the group of A's so
yeah,
far.
it really is.
Algeria for me was one of the dark horses coming into this tournament. I think they are stacked in terms of talent. They have depth, but getting into a group with Austria and Argentina, not easy. Obviously, Argentina, the big favorites in this group, but that's a very interesting group. Okay, so now heart pulsating moment over here.
We only have
and it's
3
Uzbekistan.
Left. First timers, debutantes.
Who came second in their group. We're very close to getting into the 2022 World Cup, and they are with Portugal and Colombia. So that will be a sigh of relief for the Portuguese and the Colombians.
How you feeling?
And I think
Goss is over here
he's
laughing.
I think it's because he said something about Uzbekistan playing Portugal.
No, he thought you were getting Norway.
Well, listen, if we got Norway, we wouldn't have gotten past the group stage, but I'm a pessimist. But you don't know what you're going to get from Uzbekistan, right? Good defensive team. CONCACAF.
Panama just got drawn, and I think they're trying to figure out where they're going to put them. Now is where we start to shift things because you need different confederations in each pot, aside from UEFA.
And there's our head coach, Christensen, who played for Barcelona.
Panama going in Group L with England and Croatia.
This is the group of the blue and white colors. So England, Croatia, and Panama. Panama, one of those teams that can disrupt an entire group, right? Gold Cup finalists. I'm thinking of Carrasquilla rampaging down the midfield.
Why don't people
Godoy.
give Panama enough credit? Is it the people who maybe don't watch soccer over here, and it's more so the Europeans that kind of?
I think you've answered your own question.
Yeah.
I think you've answered your own question.
We don't give Panama enough credit.
I mean, a lot of people in North America don't pay that much attention to CONCACAF watching when it comes to qualifiers. All right, I think I just saw Norway into a group with Senegal and France, and so maybe that is the group of death so far. And everybody saw what Norway did in qualification. Italy was close to them in terms of points. They lose in that last game. Even if they had won, I think they needed to score 6 or 7 or 10 goals, something like that. I forget exactly how many that is. Nobody scored more goals than Erling Haaland in qualifiers this year.
All right, well, those are our pot 3. We're going to get ready for pot 4, so let's throw to a quick video that we have on Curacao.
Back from whence it came. Pinnock settles on the bounce, hooks it high into the sky, into the area. Obispo gets the
Oh, you want me to talk
Oh,
now?
I want you to talk. Come on.
I can talk if you
What
want
are
me
you back
to.
for?
I am stoked. So for
sorry, I took
starters,
us in
I
silence.
thought Portugal was getting the group of death. That's why I was yelling from
And
the
I was
side.
so relieved that they dodged Norway, and I was even thinking about it.
Germany, Ivory Coast, Ecuador is crazy. That is a wild group. I think Ivory Coast is one of the most underrated teams right now in the world. They won the last AFCON.
Yep.
They basically conceded 1 goal in all of qualifying since then. They've got young players like Amad Diallo who can ball. They've got young players in Germany, but they also have experience. That's a team I don't want, along with, what did we say, Ecuador, a team you don't want. And
Yeah.
Germany, pot 1, but maybe not the best team.
Yeah, and I think of all the teams in that group, it's Germany who are shaking in their boots.
Yeah.
Because so much is expected of them. There are so many question marks about Julian Nagelsmann. Meanwhile, you've got an Ivory Coast who goes into the competition going, we want to progress. We've never progressed. But not too much is expected from us. And, you mentioned the win in AFCON, which they won in the Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
What's the subplot of that story was that they had Jean-Louis Gasset was their coach at the beginning of the tournament, got fired after a 4-0 defeat, and then their coach, whose name I always forget, Emers Faye, he comes in from the under-23s and leads them to glory. Remarkable story.
So I think that, to me, is an elite group. So we are getting into pot 4 now. So we are going to know every single team and exactly the matchups and what's going forward. For the host teams' reminders, they are probably all about to get a UEFA team because pretty much every other federation's knocked out. Canada could get a Ghana, but now we get the first one, and that's brutal for, I think, Mexico. I think Denmark, in my mind, as much as we talk about Italy, I think Denmark could be the best UEFA playoff team left.
Why? Why?
They went to a, Euro quarterfinal, semifinal, obviously off the back of the emotion of Christian Eriksen. They are a team that doesn't beat themselves. They're a team that has a high level. Yeah. Everyone plays in big leagues. I think all the other teams are mismatched. Great talent and then poor talent. And I look at these things, and to me, this whole process, I'm trying to figure out who's the next Croatia and who's the next Morocco. And if you look at what those examples they've given us the last 3 World Cups,
they're showing you that they can do that.
It's do we have a strong enough base and veterans to help platform our superstars to be difference makers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people would say that the Denmark Stars are starting to be aged out, and there are some questions given
Canada
what
just
happened
got
in their
Italy.
qualification process.
Canada just got Italy's playoff spot. Northern
I
Ireland,
was going to
Wales,
say you're getting ahead
Bosnia.
of yourself that Canada got Italy.
That is
I
absolutely
know,
true.
right? I'm like, what?
But can you imagine Canada, Italy in Toronto?
That would be amazing.
That would be electric.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
BMO would collapse underneath the pressure, but these are becoming fairly tasty fairly fast.
Yeah, but this is, sorry, real quick, group of life so far. Anybody could come out of this group.
I would take the odds you'd give me on Qatar getting out.
And they didn't do very well
Also,
in
I don't
qualifications.
understand betting, so I don't know if I should take the odds or give the odds, but yeah.
But Qatar getting out, finishing first or second, or being
Fair,
one of those
fair.
third-place teams?
I would still be surprised if they stole enough points to get 3.
Yeah.
And my assumption is you won't get out on 2, so 2 ties probably not
Yeah.
enough. So I think right now Ghana is the only team besides a European playoff team that the U.S. could get. So Haiti coming out now means that Ghana could still be on the board for Group D. We love Haiti. We love what they're doing. We've obviously watched them a ton in this region. Obviously, Derek Etienne Jr., the legend.
Yeah,
part
you
of their
know,
group.
you mentioned Junior. I'm thinking of one of our friends, Brees Vincent
Oh,
Jr., who's a
Brees.
good friend of mine, one of your producers,
One of our
at
producers.
CBS. You know, about Haiti, didn't play a single game in Haiti because the country
Yes.
has
Yeah.
devolved into chaos, very sad images. But what's interesting about this group is the Haitians envision themselves a little bit as the Brazilians in CONCACAF in the way that they play football, and they're going to play Brazil.
So Curacao getting pushed off now because they can't face the U.S. to Germany's group, which means now the next eligible team to play the U.S., whether it's Cabo Verde, Ghana, or a UEFA qualifier, will get moved back into Group D. We had Eloy Room on the show, and he was like, we want to play the best teams in the world. I think he got his wish.
They're
with
playing a couple of them.
Germany, Ivory
They're playing a
Coast,
couple of them.
And Ecuador. That is a brutal setup.
And even knowing that Curacao can surprise some people, my visceral reaction was they could be the whipping boys in this group.
Yes. So Iraq, Bolivia, Suriname, they will now go into Group F.
Okay.
Because they are. Oh, no, they cannot because Iraq could not play against Japan. Now we're moving down the list, so I'm going to wait till someone
So
explains
do
to us.
they just go to the next available
Yes,
one?
which is pretty far because they can't
Yeah.
play Iran either. They can't play Saudi Arabia. So it looks like they're going to go into Group I.
You have a remarkable ability of
I
like,
just know the
seeing the
map.
group so quickly.
I'm still trying to take them in.
Yeah.
I could repeat for you the 2006 World Cup group by group right
I
now
bet
if
you
you
could.
wanted me to.
Serious?
And I swear to you, I do not know what time my flight is tomorrow.
Well,
I don't know.
something's got to give, right?
I'm staying at my family's
Yeah.
house that they moved into. I still don't know the address.
Do you ask your wife where your keys are all the time?
I lose my phone every
There
5
you go.
minutes.
There you go.
But I could rattle through. And that's it. That's going to be the 4th team in the U.S. group. It's going to be Cabo Verde, Australia, and Paraguay.
How are you feeling?
That is arguably the best group the U.S. could get.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think if you're Cape Verde, you're looking you're looking
Yeah.
at this group and thinking, we could make more history.
No reason they can't face off against an Australia or a Paraguay and go toe-to-toe. That is an absolutely absurd draw for the U.S. That went as...
Oh, hold on. No, they
I
didn't
wrong?
go. No, they went to Group H. I take back all the nice things I've said
What
about
happened?
you.
Didn't they just put them in?
Why would they not go back to the group? Okay, now I'm going to try and figure out how
All right,
FIFA
let's say so.
operates. I'm not
They're
gonna
now
do
with
it.
Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia.
So I was
happened?
absolutely wrong.
What was the whiplash
It was
here?
it's the first time today. So let me think. What?
Okay, so they are in Group H. I was wrong. The U.S. did not get the best possible group they could, and now we're still waiting. Someone will explain to me
I'm
what
a little
happened.
confused why that
So
didn't
it
go
will
to
be
Group
this
D.
one. It'll be Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, and Kosovo.
I said Albania before. Kosovo.
Apparently, I'm being told the broadcast is confused as well. So we are in good company.
Oh, okay.
And we're not even the ones who are doing it. We're
Yes.
just reacting.
Okay, this is
I
good.
need a little VAR.
I need a little
on
VAR
all
on this
please.
as well. Yeah, I don't really know
The
how
fix
this
is
working.
in, everybody.
Ooh, I think people would have said it in the other way around. I will say this, though. I don't hate this.
No,
This is still not a bad draw.
no. There's not a scary team in
Yes.
that group of playoff teams.
I think most people would say Turkey are the giants of those 4.
Yeah.
It's Turkey, Romania, Kosovo, and Slovakia.
Yeah, I think Turkey, Vincenzo Montella, head coach of that team, did well in the Euro, knocked out Austria when everybody expected Austria to knock them out. But they got humiliated by Spain in the group stages.
So there it is. Now
In the
we
qualifiers.
know exactly what the 3 hosts World Cup will look like. And now we're getting the other groups here. New Zealand is the one team I think everyone has circled, maybe Jordan as well.
Yeah.
We interviewed a player from Jordan, which I was shocked we were able to find, a Jordanian Spanish-born who played college soccer in the U.S. and now plays back in Jordan.
Wow. How did
What
that
a sport.
How did that conversation
He's great.
go?
Jaime's my guy. You know, international for Jordan named Jaime was not
Jaime
exactly
from
what
Jordan is great.
was what I saw
It's
coming.
appropriate.
Yeah, it was not exactly what I saw coming. But I think for Jordan, they're just excited. And there, you were talking about it when you first came on. Like, that's the stories, these debuts.
There's so many great stories. That's what it's all about. That's the pro of having this expanded field.
So they ruined the A's.
They ruined the A's, although J for Group J
Yeah.
fits. Argentina and Austria, I think, are looking at this group quite favorably, but I think they'll be surprised by Algeria.
I think you're about to get Ghana. It would be my guess for Portugal
Again.
right now. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So that's 3 World Cups in the last
I,
4.
we'll see if I'm right. No, I was wrong. Well, potentially. I don't know. Someone has to
New
explain to me
Caledonia.
how this works. I'm trying to do quick.
I know. I don't want to call it
understanding.
just yet before
Yeah.
it gets taken off the board again.
Congo's an Africa team, and Jamaica's a CONCACAF team. So I think that should be going into Group K. There shouldn't be any issues, which would be a pretty good.
Yep, there we go.
setup
There's
for
confirmation that they'll be in
Group Krakaeur.
Group Krakaeur. Group Krakaeur.
How do we feel about the crack?
I feel more confident now. I think Colombia is going to be a powerhouse in this tournament. They were excellent in qualifying. So
we are still waiting to fill in Group G. Group G is a tough one because you already had an Asian team and an African team. So you needed it to end up being a team that was eligible to play them, which is both left in Ghana and New Zealand. So Ghana comes out of the pot. Oh, excuse me, they cannot play Egypt because they are an African team.
right, so
they
there would be a
have to go
UEFA team most
Yes.
likely to
So
come
group,
into.
No, it will be New Zealand. So Group L.
Oh, okay.
Group L will get Ghana,
Ghana.
and then New Zealand will go to Group G.
See, everybody makes mistakes. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they're doing.
No
We're
one
all over the place.
No one knows what's happening. But this is what we've been waiting for. We've got a World Cup set up. That is absolutely
That's
gorgeous.
a good group.
That is one where I can't see an obvious easy game.
What, L?
Yeah.
L.
I wouldn't say group of death because I couldn't see
No.
any winners.
And
in
England
that.
by far the
Outside
favorites
of
in this
England?
group.
Yes.
By far.
But there's no obvious gap, I think, between Ghana and Panama on the field at a World Cup.
Yeah.
You know, pound for pound, I think Ghana are a considerably better team than Panama.
Yes.
When we talk about individuals,
Yes.
but the collective is what matters here. And I think Christensen has really developed this Panamanian national team.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Panama had a tough time in qualifying? Because it came down to the final day,
Yeah.
and they really shouldn't have had it go that far.
You know the term, you got CONCACAF. I feel like that's the only appropriate explanation.
It will be obviously a bit more familiar for Panama. All right, that's
it.
So we've completed the 2026 World Cup draw. We've got groups. We've got stuff to talk about.
A little
for the
clap
next
from
6
everyone.
months.
Abemos World Cup. Abemos World Cup.
When did all of this start? This started at noon, so 2 hours.
Yeah, lucky us.
2 hours.
And we didn't have any singing performers on our
We
show.
didn't have any Lauryn Hills.
Just a lot of blabbering.
Just a lot of us talking. And guess what? We're going to do a lot more.
Yes.
Do it
looking
all over
forward to it.
again.
We are in no rush to get out of here. We are lucky enough to be at the best soccer bar in the world here at Legends. Okay.
Should we talk? Should we?
Overall experience, what did you make of now knowing the groups, and how do we feel in this exact moment?
I thought you were going to ask me my thoughts on the broadcast overall.
No.
I got lots of thoughts.
I would
I'll
never.
keep those.
Yeah.
I'll keep those. Overall thoughts. It's interesting them trying to figure out Tetris style, who goes where.
Yes.
And very confusing, although that leads a little bit to a little bit more anticipation, because even you were trying to guess, and then we're
Yes.
like, well, you can't do it here, do it here. I think there's some very favorable groups, like the U.S. is favorable. Would have been better if we got, who did we think that we got?
We thought we got Cape Verde.
Cape
Yeah.
Verde.
So instead, they got this playoff winner. But we do have the only schedule we know of 100% is the opening games. So we're going to get Mexico, South Africa is the opening game of the World Cup, which is tasty because, as Keon, one of our favorites, will tell you, That was the opening game of the 2010 World Cup
Yes,
in
it was.
South Africa.
And what happened in that game?
A goal for Africa?
A goal for South Africa, right? So the Bafana. You know, you and I, David, were having a conversation before we started the show about this little gadget that The Athletic had on their website where you could
Simulator.
simulate the
How many times
that's right,
did you
gadget?
do it? I did 15.
Simulator gadget.
You just keep pressing the button. It was like a feeling
easy
to do.
to do.
Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
no
I
matter
had
how
to
many
do
times
work.
I did it, there was never really a group of death for me.
Yeah.
So I came away with it thinking we're not likely to see a real group of death. And yet
Yeah.
I look at these groups and I see some difficult groups here. Germany being the most obvious. I think the Netherlands are going to have trouble in Group F. It's not a group of death, but it's a difficult group for them. And then look at Group I. So for me, it's about Germany's group, which is Group E, and Group I, France, Senegal,
E and I.
and Norway. Those two groups are very, very difficult, and you could potentially see a situation where one of the favorites won't struggle to get out because of the expanded format.
Yeah.
But may not give us the showing that everybody expects.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting how teams handle culturally, like, okay, you can lose and still get through, but the natural inclination of everyone is you lose a game at the World Cup and you panic.
Yeah.
Like, how do people handle that this time with the new setup, I think is going to be really cool. I just want to throw this out there because the few things we do 100% know. The U.S. will start the World Cup against Paraguay in L.A.
Yep.
They will face off against Australia in Seattle, and they will return to L.A. to face off against that
The
UEFA
winners.
playoff winner, which could be anywhere between Turkey and Kosovo, was it?
Kosovo.
Turkey, Slovakia, yeah.
Yeah.
So that will be the U.S.'s schedule to start. So everyone in Seattle, I don't know, you got a better chance of seeing a win. You probably didn't get as big a matchup as you'd like, but
Yep.
I'd
you're a
rather
US
see a
fan.
win. I'd rather see a win than the big matchup. Let me just go back to Group I real quick. One of the prevailing conversations in world soccer over the last few years was after Messi and Ronaldo and that duopoly or that huge tectonic fight between these two guys for supremacy in world soccer, what's the next battle? Haaland versus Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
Well, they're facing each other.
Yeah.
It hasn't quite developed that way because you've had people come into the conversation like a Lamine Yamal who are ruining that dynamic.
Yeah.
But that is still going to be a focal point when it comes to the conversations about those two games.
And
That game in particular.
what is wild is Haaland ending up in World Cup qualifying. He doubled Mbappe's goal number in World Cup qualifying. Like, those are cartoon numbers.
Right.
For Norway, how important is Holland? Like, what kind of a team are they if something were to happen to Holland? Because we speak about them being a very strong team,
Yeah.
but without him, how
very
strong
different team.
realistically are they?
They're a very different team, but one of the things that's interesting about the way they've set themselves up is the service they create for Haaland is good service. So it's if he leaves, they're losing the best finisher of everything
Yeah.
they make, but they haven't changed the way they play because he's a unique player,
Yeah.
right? He's a great true center forward. He took 2 shots outside the box all of World Cup qualifying. So everything, those are high percentage chances. Yeah, he wins headers like no one else. He finishes like no one else. But I think they have, the next player up is a huge drop off, but they don't have to change their style.
Yeah.
Where for some countries, if you lose Messi, Argentina doesn't have another talisman, so now they have to shape the way they play differently. Where in Norway, I don't think that's the case.
Well, just one thing about Norway really quickly. The last few games in qualifiers, they played without Odegaard. Odegaard was injured,
Yeah.
missed a bit of the season for Arsenal as well, so he's a big factor on this team. The other thing is Alexander Sorloth is an interesting character on this team because he's very much the prototypical gigantic number 9, but they play him off on the wing, and he's not fast. So I feel like the issue that Ståle Solbakken has had with this team is figuring out how to fit all his best players into the 11 and carving out a role that gets the best out of them. And the other guy I want to mention is Nusa. Antonio Nusa on the wing, who's an exceptional player, scored a wonderful goal against Italy.
And Bob.
Sorry?
And Bob on the other wing. I just love that.
And Bob, and yes.
The whole name is just Bob.
And Bob, one of the things about, what's his first name? I keep thinking Oscar Bob. for
Yeah,
some reason.
so did I.
Yeah, Oscar Bob. But what's his first name? Bob. But, You know, Bob was at FC Porto.
Oscar Bob.
It is Oscar
Yeah.
Bob. There you go. Oscar. It's just a weird name.
pretty cool.
Interesting thing about Oscar Bob, I spoke to a coach who coached him at FC Porto, and he told me that when he was, not like you guys do, but when he was, I don't remember exactly when he was there, it was short-lived, 15 or 16, because he was under the age of 18. This coach thought that he'd become one of the best players in the world at that age.
We don't know everything. As we said, we're going to get the schedule fully tomorrow. What I'm guessing, and I don't, if anyone has learned anything more, feel free to tell me. My guess is the way the tickets were put out, we know what groups are going to be in each stadium. The question is if they swap the teams or not.
Based off of the communities?
Yeah,
Off the
or time zones, they have said.
zones.
So, you know, if you know that you have a ticket for Group H in Kansas City and you have a ticket for Group H in Houston on the same day, we don't know which of the Group H matchups will be there, but we think we know what cities most of these teams are going to. But either way, we know what the groups are now.
What was it? Who's the biggest population in Massachusetts? Is it Cape
Cape
Fear?
Verde, yeah. My people. I think all of New England. I don't want to disrespect Rhode Island.
No. Massachusetts is what I've heard. So would you see, I mean, would they realistically maybe put Group H in that area with Spain, Saudi, Uruguay? I don't know. Can they handpick locations?
So that's the part that we don't know.
Yeah.
But we think not. You think yes?
I think what you said was correct.
Yes. No. So in theory,
no.
The cities are already locked.
Okay.
The question is, there's just the flexibility of we picked these two stadiums. We can pick which one is in. So if you look at the schedule, it'll say what their group plays.
Okay.
That's the changes. I know Eric wants his team to be in Boston.
Yeah.
We know that Portuguese community is ready to rock and roll.
We'll travel anywhere.
Yes, that I believe. Okay, real quick, should we bring in a fourth guest and reset a little bit?
We shall.
Let's do it.
Because we're going to break down every single group by group,
Is
right?
our guest a musical artist? Are we having a live performance?
Could be.
A little show? Are you singing?
It could be.
I think what I know is I believe his sister sings on Broadway like 5 blocks from here.
Honestly?
I think so.
That I did not know.
If we have Heath Pearce ready to rock and roll, he's going to come in and join us from L.A.
Where's
Heath, is
There
your
he is.
sister on Broadway?
Oh, Canada. See, one of the musical artists.
Are you
That's
going
a
to
great
bring all
background,
the
by the way.
Broadway tunes for us?
Yeah, I don't have any of that in me. But I am ready to talk about all these draw results. It's pretty wild.
Let's do it. All right. Should we start at the very top?
I think there's no other
Run
way.
through everything. Group A. All right. Let's start off Group A. Mexico, South Africa, Korea, and what is it? One of the spots for the UEFA playoff matches. So we'll kick it off to you. What are you thinking right now with Group A? How is this one shaped out for you?
Well, I think this is really great for Mexico, all things considered. If you look at just the way the draws have played out, I think Eric had a great point earlier in that there's not really a group of death. So I think everybody that's going into this, even some of the smaller nations, have to like their chances of a little bit of gamification within the group of knowing that it's the top 2, and then you have your third place teams in terms of their results. But overall, I think South Africa just snuck into this tournament. So I think they're going to be motivated in a lot of ways. Korea come prepared for every World Cup that they're in. But Mexico has to be happy again with that opener against South Africa and the way that they're going to be able to manage that. So overall, I think this is a really fun Group A, not knowing who that fourth team is going to be. But I think it's a really exciting way for Mexico to kick off the tournament against South Africa especially.
Yeah, builds a little bit of anticipation.
Yeah.
How confident are you in this Mexico side? Because I think you guys talked about it. They haven't won in 6 matches. They won 2 big trophies this year, and then just what happened?
I don't really think they know who they are fully.
Yeah.
I think Javier Aguirre wants them to be a little more possession. I don't know that they can. And it's the nature of a national team, which is the 2 most important players, Santi Jimenez and Raul Jimenez, shouldn't play together. So they're trying to figure out how it all fits together going into a World Cup where they don't have enough talent to leave talent out the gate. And obviously Raul Jimenez made the comments out of the last window when they got booed at home. They were chanting Javi out. They were chanting against the goalkeeper. Well, this is why we don't play at home. Well, congratulations. You got a home World Cup. You get 3 games at home and you're complaining about your home fans. It's not exactly an ideal setting for Mexico.
Can I ask this? Mexico playing at home. Obviously, it's great to play in front of your fans, but if you are Mexico and you are losing, That might be the worst situation that you want to be in, is actually playing at home if you're down.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll find themselves in that situation, to be completely honest.
You're confident
I
in them.
I think there are a couple of things here. I think that and Heath would speak to this a lot better than me, playing in friendlies and playing in a tournament are very different things. And I think that you, in Aguirre, you've got a coach with a lot of experience and a guy who has been known tactically as a very defensive coach. And ultimately, if he can get the defensive cohesiveness side of things done properly, I don't think any of these teams, maybe Korea to a certain degree, but I don't think they're going to be as threatening as you would think. And then the factor that you get to play your first game or you're playing at home, I think that's really, really important. And the fans, as much criticism as there's been in Mexico about this team, of course, this could all change if South Africa scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. But I think the fans are going to be behind El Tri from the get-go.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him a chance to start. But we talked about the rematch of the 2010 World Cup, which I think is going to be the big storyline here, especially for South Africa. Of like, they got in as hosts. They were the first hosts to not qualify out of the group stage. They've spent the last 15 years sort of trying to reestablish themselves internationally and prove that they belong to be here. What a better way to do it than against a host. Mexico, I think this is the most interesting stat I found out over the course of this week. Mexico have played the most World Cup games without ever winning a World Cup.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that they think about that, or that stat kind of just doesn't matter and it's just a fun stat for us as commentators to riff off?
I think it goes to the oddity of them, which is they're a constant, but they're not a power.
Constantly average.
Right? Yes. I think one of the phrases I use is like blue bloods or blue chip for favorites. And when you go into a World Cup, basically what the proof is that all the big teams are always going to get to the final.
Yeah.
Like new teams don't break through. It took France 65 years. It took Spain 75 years. Portugal might never do it. Like you just never get there. And Mexico, I think, sees themselves as part of the club, and the club doesn't see Mexico as part of them.
Right.
And I think that's where that oddity comes, which is I'd never really put it to name of like, oh, that's why we think they're big, but we don't really have proof of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's also how big the sport is in the country, right? When we think
it's
about some
one
of
the
best
great soccer cultures.
Right, one of the best fan groups in the world, we think Mexico are certainly among them. Never passed the quarterfinal stage at a World Cup, and so they're always looking to break that duck. But I think this is a very favorable group, and you think that Korea right now with Mexico, the two favorites, but Korea get into the World Cup even though they topped their group, they weren't necessarily at playing big teams.
I think we should make everyone make picks for every group. Does that feel right?
For who we think is going to finish first
Every
and second?
group, yeah. Or first, second, third, because we don't know what's going to happen. Heath, you want to get us started?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with Mexico to win this group. It's a little bit early, obviously, not knowing who the fourth team is in the group, because it could be a little bit of disruption in there. But I think they have the best opportunity to navigate. So I'm going to go with Mexico to get out of the group in first, and then I'm going to say Korea second at this point. I know it's a little premature with some of these groups not knowing exactly who's in, but I really do like Mexico. I know they're under a ton of pressure. But guess what? Playing for Mexico has never not had pressure, right? We see all the external stuff. We see all the chaos, the crazy. We know the comments about playing in Mexico. But you're talking about a core fan base that are in the stadium versus a nation that's behind a team. I think they're going to come to life because it feels like they're hosting this World Cup. So them top, and then I'm going to say Korea going second out of this group.
Second out of this group.
Yeah.
I was going to pick South
By the way,
Africa.
I'm going to sit and wait on a third for a little
For
bit
the
more
UEFA?
specifics, because I don't want to shoot all my shots really early on and then run out of my third place teams going through.
I'm going to say this because I'm going to do this.
Okay.
We can say third place teams. We don't have to say we think they're going through. It's just what you think the group ends. I'm putting that out there
Just
because
go 1 through 4.
I'm just
Take
going to
everybody
keep
1 through
saying
4.
it, and I'm saying that you can't hold me accountable for anything that I say at any point in this show. And Heath, if you try to, I will come over there and I will break that record behind
Look
you.
at the smirk
All right,
that he's got already.
Can I just say that the UEFA team will go third in this group? I don't want to just rule out North Macedonia, but I'd like to think that Denmark or Ireland are gonna be.
Which, by the way,
third in this group.
our guy Enda here, who we interviewed, who owns Legends, which we're really grateful to be here, and we're having such a great time. I think there was some excitement that Ireland fans were going to roll through New York or one of these cities. Ireland fans in Mexico City, I don't hate it.
I think that's going to be the best blending of fans ever.
Corona their stock just went through the roof.
Corona, and they'll bring some Guinness with them for sure.
I think for some reason, lots of people make connections between Irish people and Latinos, or maybe specifically Irish people and Mexican. There's something there.
Irish people are the Latinos of Europe, 100%.
I don't know if that's what the connection. There's
just
something
in terms
there.
of joie de vivre. Right, there we go.
So the way we think it could set up, Ireland could play in Guadalajara.
Okay.
They could play in Mexico City, and then they could also potentially play in Atlanta.
I would love this.
Yeah. So it will be a party for the Irish. It will be a Mexican party for the Irish if they get there. As I said, I think Denmark has a real shot. So I'm going to go next.
Okay.
I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say Denmark first.
You're already saying it's going to be Denmark?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mexico second, South Africa third, and Korea fourth. Yeah, that's my prediction for
Wait,
the group.
who's second?
I have Mexico second.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then third
is
South Africa.
South Africa,
Korea
yeah.
four.
Yeah, listen, Keon's here. He's intimidated me a lot. But this is a South African team that's one of the best defensive teams in Africa. We saw it at the last AFCON. And I have a list of teams that I say I like them at the World Cup because they will play the style they already play, even against teams that are better than them, where South Africa, Tunisia, if they play a team maybe considered smaller in Africa, they still play deep and counter.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be uncomfortable in that when they get to a moment like a World Cup. And we've all heard the jeers if Mexico can't score after 35, 45 minutes. I think South Africa can maintain that. I think they can get some results, and I think they can sneak into a third place group. And I don't love the way South Korea has progressed over the last year with their losses in friendlies and trying to find themselves on the fly. So I'm going bold here, and as I said, Heath cannot hold me to a single thing I said.
I think I go the same way. Whoever the UEFA team is,
Okay.
Mexico, South Africa, South Korea.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to go
Guys,
with.
you're just picking a team that's not that's
I
three
know.
matches.
How
from
bold
World
is
Cup.
that? How bold is that?
Exactly. That's exactly
Which
my
I
point.
love.
I think they're going to be fairly low-scoring games, and I feel like there's going to be a good amount of draws.
Yeah, there's not a lot
in this.
between these teams.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. What are you going with?
Yeah, I just, I think Heath makes the most important point. We don't know which UEFA team is going to come out in this group. And so that being the case, you're confident that Denmark can get through? I don't know. They've stumbled in qualifiers. So I'm going to agree with Heath. I think Mexico number one, Korea second, and whoever the UEFA team is in third. Could be North Macedonia for all we know. They did beat Italy in a qualifier.
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to sit down with a South African content creator, Pitch Invaders, right before the start of the draw to tell us a little bit about South Africa. So let's go into that for a little bit more. Your country, South Africa, are in a tough group. They are alongside fellow World Cup participants in Egypt, one of the giants of AFCON in the past. How big is that matchup for preparations for the World Cup? And how big of a matchup is that historically for these two, some of the best in all of Africa?
So it is going to be a tough group for us at the AFCON, but I think the preparation, as you said, will be good for the World Cup. I wouldn't say that the fixture between us and Egypt has like a lot of historical beef or meaning, but it's definitely a tough nation, right? So I think it's a tough group. We would need to beat Angola in our first match to go into that match against Egypt in the correct headspace. But I feel like, if we'll look at our group and we can, advance to the knockout phase, it will prepare us for the World Cup because that group's going to be tough. At the moment, we kind of bounce in between pot 4, pot 3, and the lower the pot that you're in, your group's going to be difficult, in all honesty. So I think we need that extra preparation.
Okay, because that was like 10.
Here we go.
All right, we are back. You're catching me.
That's on me. That's my fault.
I'm trying to. Come on. You're supposed to let me know.
I'll take the mea culpa. I will take the mea culpa.
Away from the
I will take the mea culpa.
Come on.
Listen, it's in honor of your daughter, Eric. Don't.
Yes, of course.
Disrespectful. His daughter's name is Stella.
Really? Aw.
Yes.
All right. Well, we were just trying to figure out where we're going with this. Okay, so we are looking now at Group B, which is Canada. The other UEFA nation.
Which we have as Italy, Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Okay, and then Qatar and Switzerland. So initial thoughts, just understand that Canada, this is their third time making the World Cup. They have yet to win a game in the World Cup. They have yet to win.
I feel like Switzerland have been overlooked in a lot of tournaments recently. Getting to the round of 16, getting to a quarterfinal by beating France, who were at the time World Cup champions. I think that potentially Switzerland could top this group. I think they could really impress. Canada. Canada has a great opportunity to finish second, so I'm going to say they finish second. Italy. So who do we say we got? Italy.
It could be Italy,
Czech
Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the potential for an Italy, Canada in Toronto opening game is still on the board.
Even if Italy is in this group, I think Italy. Let's say Italy go through, finish third in this group. They're just not very good.
Yeah.
And then Qatar finish last.
So there is my only line that I stick to in international soccer. Switzerland are my least favorite team in the world.
Why?
Because I've been to 2 Swiss World Cup games. They're the most boring team. And the only truism for them is they play up to their opponents and down to their opponents. Because they don't have a style.
Yeah.
So you're right, Eric, which is they're underrated because when they've gone into big games against France or Spain, they've stayed toe-to-toe. But then they drop down, and this is a group where it's a drop down.
And they got demolished by Norway. Let's not forget about that. I mean,
and I think that's
at the San Siro.
Yeah, I think that's perception stuff for them. So I look at Switzerland playing at Canada, and if you want to say Canada's not of the same quality, I think they play down to what Canada is. I think they play down to a Qatar, down to whoever the other UEFA team is. So if I'm Canada, I like having them in this group because they're not going to dictate the game to me. I'm going to get to dictate the game to them, and that's what Canada wants. So I like this group for the hosts, and I think outside of Qatar, anyone will have a shot of getting out of it.
Yeah. Heath, what are you thinking? How do you feel about this Group B with Canada?
Again, I think when the first 2 names came out with Switzerland and Qatar, you have to like your odds. I do think that there is a variable in Italy in just the representation of the Azzurri. They're going to show up in a different way that I think whether or not it's Canada's group to lose, I'm not really sure. I think if this was Canada 2022, very, very different than now. They're battle-hardened. There's a belief, that confidence has grown over the years under Jesse Marsh as well as what they think they can do in the World Cup. So I like Canada's chances. I think that they like what they're looking at. I think Italy will take points. I think Italy will be, if it is Italy.
Ooh, now he's the one who's deciding.
Will be a variable where they will take some points and cause a little bit of chaos and disruption within this group. That I still think it's probably Canada, Switzerland that get out of this group, but there is that sort of curveball in the fact of whoever this UEFA team is, I think can disrupt some things that could push either Switzerland or Canada into that third spot. But as of now, just to give my kind of group predictions, I've got Switzerland finishing second behind Canada, especially Canada being home. That Italy Canada thing could be something special, but that's what I'm going to go with in that one.
Your thoughts on this Canadian team who could be getting Alphonso Davies as soon as this weekend, going for Bayern. Hasn't played since March with an ACL injury, so they could have him for next year.
It's going to be awesome. That game's going to be electric.
Yeah.
They're expanding BMO Field. The way it was when they qualified for 2022 against Jamaica at home was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. The Ice Teca in Edmonton, all that stuff's going to be on the highest level. As you said, if you're a Canadian, you're watching Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David and all of them every single week. I think Canada will have confidence in this group to the point we keep making. For anyone who doesn't know, the Italian population in Toronto is one of the biggest in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why Sebastian Giovinco and Bernardeschi and Insigne went there. That's why they spent the money. So it is a huge little Italy there.
Yeah.
So there'll be support on both sides in a way. But I just think this Canada team is ready for this moment and ready to take this on. And I think having a Qatar in your group, which, let's just be real, that's 3 points.
Yeah.
They were the worst defensive team in Asian qualifying, and they are not good enough offensively to overcome that at a World Cup.
Just because you said that, things are really going to be chaotic here.
Can I just add a little ingredient to this? I don't think Qatar or whoever the UEFA nation is, or Switzerland, have played a team that will have the approach that Canada does.
Right.
Canada is going to scare teams because of their pressing, how combative they are under Jesse Marsh. And I think that's why I think they'll do well in this group. But also very quickly, we're talking about Italy, and that it seems like this is a fairy tale setting for Italy. But I don't rate Bosnia because every time they get to a playoff, they lose. Northern Ireland and Wales could surprise. They really could. And Wales is a pretty good team that underperforms.
So let me throw out one thing about Switzerland, which is they're obviously Granit Xhaka and Freuler, their strength in central midfield. To what he said about Canada, Canada doesn't want to play through. Canada's going to play over you, and then they're going to press you. So I think all of Canada's strengths, I think Eric said it well, fit against these teams. So I'll go first on predictions here. I'm going to say Canada first. Or did someone already predict?
Yeah.
He gave his thoughts and the prediction. He
weren't-
answered all my questions.
Clearly you weren't listening to me.
Are you still with us?
Yeah.
Hey,
Heath gave
the
us
last thing
predictions.
the last thing I would say on Canada, by the way, is the way that they play is usually where they are in the game. And what I worry about the way that they play is if they go down a goal early and the nerves and the hosting and all that stuff can really shift the dynamic of how they have to play and open up a little bit, that as long as they're controlling matches, I like their odds at the top of this group.
I guess I'm the last one.
We're the last ones. I haven't given it. I think Canada. I want to go before you. Canada. I'm gonna go the UEFA team. Switzerland, Qatar.
I'm going to switch the middle two, but I'm the same. I think Canada in first.
Yep.
And I'm very excited for my Canadian friends who have tickets. Especially, I have a few who worked and are TFC season ticket holders who have been trying to get the Italians to come to their games and now don't want them to show up. I think Canada first. I think Switzerland second. I think the UEFA team third. And then I'm going to put Qatar in fourth.
Yeah. I think those are solid predictions. Those are our thoughts for the Group B pot. Let's watch a video for more info on this.
The World Cup is coming to North America, and here's everything you need to know about one of the hosts, Canada. Now, some would argue right now, on and off the field, that they are the best host country. Not Mexico and not the USA. It is Canada, who are marching into the big dance off a string of strong results and the winners of the region's last World Cup qualifiers. While Canada has never won a game at the World Cup, they are the CONCACAF team that went deepest at the 2024 Copa America. They just beat their first team in Europe in 16 years, and their young talent is raring to go under Jesse Marsh, who has emboldened the young generation of stars with Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Tajon Buchanan, Ismail Kone to attack the game and play to win. As for their main guy, Canada have multiple options here. When he's healthy, Alphonso Davies is a superstar and the only Canadian to win a Champions League. But Jonathan David has become a leader for this team from the front. Just 25 years old, he is already the all-time leading goal scorer for the country. He left Lille as the third all-time scorer in the French club's history. So with Fonzie out injured, the do-it-all striker has shouldered a leadership role for Canada and will likely be the guy to do so in 2026. Regarding young talent, with a recently emergent golden generation, there is a list of names you could put, but Ismail Kone has the potential to be special. The center mid burst onto the pro scene, only joining a pro academy at the age of 19. And within 6 months, he made his pro debut, and within 6 more months, he was generating buzz about a move overseas, eventually being sold to Watford for multi-millions. Kone has the cojones to take over games, winning the ball himself, and creating and finishing goals. A lot of people don't think of Canada as a soccer nation, but outside of the British Isles, it actually boasts the oldest soccer roots. Canada won the first unofficial international match outside of England in 1885 over a USA team in New Jersey, 1-0. They have a strong belief that they could be back there looking to win a World Cup title. You can get a deeper dive into Canada and all other qualified nations in our other podcasts.
All right, well, let's dig into our Group C pot next. Here we have Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Any pot with Morocco? I think Morocco is the one that I would fear most over Brazil, considering how qualifying has went with Brazil. So Morocco is the one that scares me the most here. But Heath, what are your thoughts, first of all, for this Group C?
Yeah, I think Morocco are incredible. They've proven themselves not just at the World Cup level, but the way that they qualified, only conceding a couple goals, like plus 20 goal difference. They cruised through that. And again, yes, there wasn't the strongest of opponents in the way that it was set up for this campaign, but they've consistently done it. You see it now through the youth infrastructure, the U20s winning the World Cup. Just so many things about them, I think, just ooze confidence in their ability to compete with the rest of the world, their style of play. Add that to the fight and the grit that the team's capable of, that pride of wearing the crest. I think you have to put them even above Brazil, who I think have struggled overall. Brazil's always Brazil, but they just don't have that level of fear that I think they used to have in the past. And then honestly, for me, the more of the focus is on Scotland having a belief that this actually gives them an opportunity if they can maybe grind something out somewhere along the way or play really pragmatic and smart and disciplined, that they could get enough points to sneak out of this in a third place position. And so when I'm looking at this group overall, I think Brazil and Morocco are going to handle themselves in a way that they'll cruise through. Where they finish first or second could be either one. I like Morocco probably at that first place position. But if you're Scotland, knowing that you've got Haiti, knowing that you could maybe get some points off the others, there could be an opportunity to get out of this group in that third position.
Yeah, it's interesting how when we look at this, I mean, Brazil is still a team that
They're Brazil.
They're Brazil.
Yeah.
They're always going to be a tough team, but it's Morocco who's kind of replaced them in my mind for that fear factor. They did so well in 2022. They won the U20 World Cup just now.
They
so
win everything.
they're investing a lot, and it's incredible the growth that we've been able to see from them and how much momentum that could carry into next year's World Cup.
And they're going to be hosting the next World Cup. So they know what's on stage, and what they did in the last one. I think to your point, there are 12 teams in pot one, and Morocco are 11th ranked in the world. So they should have been a pot one team. So you've got two teams that should have been there at the top of this group, and I think it's fair to choose their form, although Eric has mentioned AFCON could be great for them, or it could be a wrench that gets thrown in if it doesn't go the way they'd like at home, as you said, over the next month or so. So that's out there, but I think I'm higher on this Brazil team than most people. I think it's because I, like cheese bread and whatever else, and so
cheese bread is great.
I'm easily sucked in by things, and I think
Pão de
point,
queijo.
Exactly. I wasn't going to say it on a stage with you because I was like, it's a Portuguese name.
But with the Brazilian accent, pão de queijo.
Yeah, Eric knows that what we say to the Brazilians, Goss, is fala português verdade, We speak real Portuguese in Portugal.
He spent a month there for the World Cup, and what'd you come away with? Just that? And obrigado?
Yeah, just that. No. Eu falo português.
And so I think the Scotland point you made, though, Heath, is interesting, which is it's an opening for them. As we said, 3 points could be enough to get through as a third-place team. And there's an opening here for a Scotland team that, reminder, lost 5-1 to Germany at the Euro opener. Like, they have not performed well against big teams, but they are the oldest team out of Europe as an average age for a starting lineup. They've been here a little bit now, and it really just comes down to the biggest matchup of this group is Haiti against Scotland.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I just jumping off that last point you made, I completely agree. That's going to be the big game, and of course Haiti are the enigma, right? If you're talking about the names for Haiti, Johnny Placide in goal is the big name.
Yeah.
Then you have Pierrot, who plays in Greece in the Super League with
and went to Northeastern University. Go Dogs!
Oh, there you go. There you go. He knows everything. This guy, encyclopedia. So I feel like they're an enigma, but a few years ago I asked Patrick Vieira. What was the
name dropping again?
It's always going to stick with me.
Take a shot every time you drop a name.
It's always going to stick with me because I asked him, what's the one quality in a player that you think is the most important in knowing that a player is going to go far? He said adversity. No team has faced more adversity than this Haitian national team. So they're going to go into this World Cup with their tails up and feeling like they can do something. They could surprise somebody. So watch out for them. But that being said, I also agree.
Can I throw into that? Where we think these games will happen is in Boston, in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, and then potentially in Atlanta or Miami.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty big Haitian populations that are going to be ready to party.
Yeah.
By the way, I am in no way saying that they're going to finish in the top two, but don't be surprised if they're third and it's Scotland who fizzle out.
Yeah.
Maybe they've reached their heights by beating out Denmark in their group with that huge game at Hampden Park, with a bicycle kick, a goal from midfield. I feel like they shot all their shots in that game, and they're happy to be at the party. And they tend to fizzle out on tournaments. They got destroyed in the Euro against Germany. Morocco, and this is going back to the point that you made, is in a group of Brazil, and yet you said, Claudia, and I think you're right, that they're the team to fear here. And there are a couple of factors. They haven't lost since 2024 in the AFCON.
That's a good thing.
In Regragui, who came in just before the 2022 World Cup, he turned his team from a team of individuals, which it's been historically. I'm thinking of the days of Norondi Naibet and Mustafa Hadji, two players that I absolutely loved, who were stars in a team that didn't seem to have any cohesiveness. Now this is a team of stars and with cohesiveness. So I think that Morocco tops this group with Brazil in second place. And I'm going to say Haiti, I think, are going to finish third. They're going to surprise the world by beating Scotland and tripping up one of the big boys.
So you're going Morocco, Brazil, Haiti, Scotland?
Yeah.
All right, that's what I'm going with. Did you give your prediction?
I'm going to go exactly the same. I will say this. I think Brazil will make it to the semifinal of the World Cup. This is not I think they're going to struggle, but I do understand that I think they might drop points here or there. Also, let me throw out, and I'm not going to give credit, but the reason FIFA did what they did with the schedule is that opening game is Brazil-Morocco. It could be in Boston or New York. Let's be real, it's going to be in New York, even though there's a huge Brazilian population up there. And that's why FIFA wanted to say, we'll get back to you in 24 hours. But just call us back.
By the way, we are in danger of ignoring a second act hangover from Morocco, by the way.
Yes, that's what I was going to say with, as you talked about the energy that happened in 2022, late appointment of manager. Everyone's on the same page. Huge fan base. And I think the Morocco fans will travel again and they'll be big. If it doesn't, there felt like there was something magical there. Similar to Ivory Coast at the last AFCON. If that goes away,
and one more point, and this one is tactical. Morocco in the World Cup in 2022 were a very transitional team, right? They sat deep. That's how they beat Spain. That's how they beat Portugal. And then hit in transition, had a couple of opportunities and capitalized on them. When it comes to this team right now, this is a much more possession-based team. How does that factor into things? So something to keep an eye on.
Hey, last point I wanted to make, Claudia, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there was, I think there's been a couple now, but there's a match for peace that took place where the Brazilian national team went to Haiti some time ago for a fundraiser for the country.
2005.
And if you were to ask most Haitians before they qualified for the World Cup who their favorite national team was, they'd likely not say Haiti. They would say the Brazilian national team. So there's some added dynamics there that for the large bulk of the Haitian population, their favorite national team is Brazil because of what Brazil's done for that country historically on a footballing level. That's just going to add some really fun dynamics when they play each other.
100%.
Thanks for adding that in, Heath. All right, well, we were speaking about Morocco being, to me, the scariest one here, but still so much credit to give to this Brazilian side. So let's dive deeper into this Brazil side.
Brazil have already won the World Cup in the U.S. and Mexico. Of course, those were back in 1994 and 1970. But they're primed to do it again. And why? Because of a 66-year-old Italian, of course. Everything has changed for Brazil since Italian manager Carlo Ancelotti took over. Players like Ederson have said openly that he brought a winning mentality to their young squad. And while he is new to the international scene, you know the deal. 5 Champions League victories in 6 finals as a manager are both records. And Ancelotti's ability to affect the national team might be biggest for its biggest star, his former Real Madrid player, Vinicius Jr. Brazil is full of stars, whether you're talking about the historic 5 above the crest, showing their unmatched historical success, or the names in any roster. But this team is now Vinny Jr.'s, and they go as the 25-year-old goals. Yes, he is still just 25. And while his career has been tumultuous at times off the field, it's pretty hard to grow up in the public eye. Signing with Real Madrid before he could legally even move countries at 18 years old, he has been as advertised for Los Blancos. He's already finished second in Ballon d'Or voting. He scored in both UEFA Champions League finals he has appeared in. He's won 3 La Liga titles, and he has scored over 20 goals in each of his last 4 seasons. Saying about Ancelotti, quote, "He has done the same thing everywhere he has gone, instilling confidence in getting the best out of every player in their ideal position. He always says his dream is to make the Brazilian people happy, to bring back the joyful football that defines us, and to win the World Cup." Vinicius Jr. is not alone in the young attack, though. Estevao is the latest Brazilian attacking phenom to make the move to Europe as an 18th birthday present to himself, and he is already the talk of the world. Nicknamed Messinho in the Palmeiras Academy, yes, after Argentine Leo Messi, he has taken the world by storm with Chelsea and with Brazil since Carleto took over. And you can understand why then the coach said about him, quote, "Estevao has incredible amount of talent. It's a surprise this level at his age. He's good at finishing. He has a lot of magic, and he works very hard. I can say this, with Estevao, Brazil have a guaranteed future." Since giving him his first start in Ancelotti's first game, Estevao has scored 5 goals in 11 appearances for Brazil. There's only ever one expectation for Brazil at a World Cup. And in my opinion, there's nothing more magical in sports than the Brazilian yellow kit on a World Cup field. I get chills just thinking about it. But it's been over 20 years since World Cup success. So the question is, can they do so once again in the US and Mexico? You can learn more about Brazil and all the World Cup nations at our Kickback podcasts.
All right, it's jarring seeing you here in person and
It's jarring to hear myself as
watching
much
you
as
do
I
that
have
as well.
to, yeah.
All right,
Should have had
we
that
move
one going
on.
before, Goss. You should have had that one going before. It would have known how much you really love Brazil. There was so much bias in that video that now I know where your passion comes from.
Heath, I went there one time and I fell in love.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Yeah,
I'm a sucker.
speaking with your chest in that one.
You
Gee,
know I'm a
brasileiro.
sucker. You know I'm a sucker.
You're like the person who goes to travel once over to Paris
Barcelona.
and comes back. Oui, oui.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
where's the Portuguese
I don't
here?
go that far.
Barcelona.
I just couch for them in every single moment necessary.
Everywhere he goes, he said, I could live there.
You know I could live here.
All right, let's move on to Group D, a huge one here because it does include the USA, also Paraguay, Australia, and another one of those countries that will qualify through the playoffs in UEFA. So who will that be?
Which will be Turkey, Romania, Kosovo, or Slovakia.
That's pretty favorable.
Yeah.
Would we say?
Yeah.
All right, Heath, what are you thinking? Let's come to you first.
Again, I think the U.S., just seeing the first two names come out for the U.S., I think it's just a favorable draw. And I feel like we're saying that for Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. just because we've experienced Ghana in our groups or having to face a Ghana. We've experienced difficult draws in the past with Germany or 2006 in Germany as well. And so I like the U.S. in this one. I think it's great that the U.S. just faced off against Paraguay to have a little bit of a measuring test as to how they can get a result. I think the main thing that the U.S. is looking at is just hoping to avoid Turkey in this one, or Turkey as it's called now. I think that's the main risk for them. Everywhere else, I think they can manage the match, but you have to love the Australia matchup. They're not going to come and be a walkover by any means, but based on the personnel of the U.S., the confidence, that fact that we're hosting, all of those types of things, I really like the U.S.'s odds of not just doing well in this group, but winning it. And there could still be a UEFA team that finish decent in this group, but Paraguay have to like their chances as well at this point.
Heath, would you have, I've heard different reviews on people maybe would have wanted an easier group for the U.S., maybe people would have wanted them to be a bit more tested and get harder nations. What did you want? What did you want coming into this?
I think it's tough to say. There is a World Cup that's about to take place that nobody knows what it's going to be, right? We're only used to foreign World Cups, World Cup qualifying, these matches where we complain about having to play CONCACAF because it doesn't prep us for this. We've played against some big nations. We have some coming up. That would be a good measuring stick, but they're still friendlies in a lot of ways. And so I think the World Cup, regardless of who you play against, no one's going to be a big gap between the two teams that I think it will, one, test the U.S. I think it'll show a few naiveties in the first couple of games of areas that we have to clean up if we actually do want to go on a deep run. And then it'll also be a good measuring stick as to how prepared are we for group play. I think group play is very, very different than how you handle any other type of knockout type of competition or the way in which we've navigated Gold Cups or Nations Leagues in the past. How we get out of that first result, I think, is going to dictate how and where we put out the right type of team, more defensive, more offensive. But I really like this as a test. There's going to be some real challenges within all of this, and it's going to poke some holes in maybe the game plans that we have right now.
And I think the game plan is interesting because what I talked about with you before the draw happened was I don't know that the U.S. is a dominant with the ball team. Mm-hmm. And I think what Mauricio Pochettino's done that's worked so well is the pressing, the intensity, the aggression, all of that. But we saw the fight against Paraguay. Like, we saw the literal brawl, but also...
And a fight against Australia, too.
Yeah. But both those teams, while the U.S. won, were hard because they don't care. Mm-hmm. They're not going to come out and play. Paraguay's not going to get pulled out of their game. They're not going to come out and approach you. So the responsibility, which I thought had gone off the U.S.'s shoulders, has shifted back now to you're going to have to dictate the style of game. You're going to have to go and create chances. But the confidence of literally just having beat the two teams is as good as it gets. And so for the U.S., as I've said, I think it's as good. I mean, I guess technically I thought Cape Verde was in here, and I thought it was a better draw.
Celebrating
so I don't want to say it's as good a draw as you could have gotten, but this is an ideal scenario. These are none of these teams are giants.
Eric?
No, you know what? I think if the U.S. goes into this group overconfident, they're in big trouble. 100%. And one of the points that you've just brought up, I think, is really crucial. The United States doesn't seem to be the best team in possession. And they're playing against teams that are going to sit back. In fact, one of the criticisms that's been leveled at Australia under Tony Popovich is that the team is too rugged and defensive, and they had been evolving over the past, 10 years into a more attack-minded team. I mean, at one point, Ange Postecoglou was their head coach, okay? And so
now they start 5 center backs.
Right, so there's this prevailing belief that Australia is actually regressing in the way that they play. I think it's important because they don't really have superstars, right? Jackson Irvine, who plays for St. Pauli, is probably their most notable player right now.
And then the center backs.
Yeah, and they basically Dagenek, who played for Columbus, and this is a team that is going to defend deep. Paraguay was one of the best defensive teams in the qualifying group. Gustavo Alfaro is a coach with a lot of experience. He was, in fact, in charge of Ecuador for a while. He was with Boca Juniors. I actually think that Paraguay is going to top this group because they can hit you in transition and make it hard. One of the guys that we haven't talked about is Gomez, who's now with Brighton, who is with Inter Miami, super player. And Ciso, another super player. But everything is about their defensive line. So for me, Paraguay tops this group. I think there are going to be some wobbles with this U.S. team that are going to make everybody nervous. I think they'll edge past Australia. And luckily for them, when you look at the European teams in this group, remind me off the top of your head.
Turkey, Romania.
And Slovakia. I think so. Slovakia, Kosovo's tough. Slovakia's tough. Slovakia was just edged out against Germany in the group stage. Very defensive team again. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the U.S. is, even though it's a favorable group, the U.S. is going to have more trouble than they anticipate. I'm still having them finish second, and I think whoever comes out of Europe is finishing third because Australia is not that great.
Can I just go for only this one group? I'm not going to do this for every group. Just third dimension chess here for a second.
Woo!
The winner of this group will play a third place team, so we have no idea what that team looks like. The runner-up of this group will play the runner-up of Group G. That's Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. That is a secondary piece of this for all these countries. That's a good draw. And both those games are in Texas. So you're going to know, if you advance, you know where you're going somewhat. And whatever the third place is, it is. And if not, that's not a bad matchup to have. So we're not going to do that all the time because the whole thing's chaos. But that's that extra element in here, which is this was a pretty good day for USA.
I know we want to move quickly. I'll just say this.
But I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on a 20-minute rant.
Can you imagine living with me? With my kids. Enough, Dad. I was just going to say one of the dangers of calling a group of life like I did is going into it overconfident and underestimating your opponents. And I think every one of these teams might underestimate their opponent.
Yeah. All right, quick predictions. I'm going just the way it's written out. USA, Paraguay, Australia, and whoever comes in from UEFA. Quick prediction.
Paraguay, USA, European team, Australia.
I'm going to go the same as Eric. So
Same
I'll
as
swap
Eric?
those bottom two, but I agree that Paraguay gets out as a runner-up.
Heath?
I'm just swapping Australia for the Euro team coming in at that third position.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our Group D chit-chat there. Let's cut to a video of Suze giving you her best travel tips ahead of next summer.
Okay, so I'm kicking us off in the Midwest, the great city of Kansas City. And I argue truly not only one of the best cities in the Midwest, but one of the best cities in the country. Food, culture, sports. They love their soccer in Kansas City, folks. Obviously, we know Sporting Kansas City is one of the most important MLS clubs, but the KC Current is massive. They are the team of the moment, the first women's soccer-specific stadium in the world. I mean, they live, eat, and breathe soccer in Kansas City, and I'm so stoked for them to be able to host a World Cup. I think it is going to be off the charts. Hotel-wise, the Lowe's downtown. It is sensational, fairly new, beautiful, great hotel bar, easy to get to everything, very walkable. That's the one. If you're going to eat, you got to get barbecue in Kansas City. I'm sorry, it's a non-negotiable, and it's also a non-negotiable that you go to Joe's Barbecue, which is a little bit outside downtown, but so worth the trip. It's in this darling little garage. Get the burnt ends. You have to get there early because they run out. Get the burnt ends. They are so good. We've got to give a shout out to Messenger Coffee Company and Ibis Bakery. This is one of David Goss's favorite. He said his favorite bakery in the entire country. The baked goods are just, they speak for themselves. And so this is according to Gus. I had to throw that in there for my good buddy. And also just wander around the Power and Light District and the River Market. These are two of the most iconic neighborhoods in Kansas City. And it's just, it's something for everybody there. Okay, next up, we're going to Cascadia, Seattle, Washington. Now, Seattle, Washington can sometimes get a bad rep because of all the rain, but in the summer, I am telling you, there are plenty of days full of sunshine, and it is absolutely beautiful and magnificent when it does. Seattle loves their sports, but they love soccer too, and Lumen Field, which is where these World Cup matches are going to be played, is truly unmatched when it comes to atmosphere. This place gets loud, and I mean loud to the point where you cannot hear yourself. Jill and I know everything about this. We cover MLS Cup finals there, MLS Cup playoffs there. You cannot hear yourself. And so I think a World Cup crowd at Lumen Field is going to be unbelievable. They also have really good stadium food, so try the Bam Bam Smash Burger. I'm a big burger gal. You won't just, yes, you're welcome. Obviously, you got to check out Pike Place Market because that is the iconic landmark in Seattle. It's where they catch the fish, which you and I have done that before with our good friend David Goss. Thank you very much. But it's so cool. There's so many other things to check out there. There's all these kind of food stalls and cobblestone streets, and the original Starbucks is just kitty corner. It's very cool. If you're into Starbucks, you should check it out. Restaurant-wise, you got to go to the Pink Door, one of our favorite little date night spots. Jill and I have had lovely, lovely evenings in the Pink Door. It's very discreet. It is literally a pink door that you walk through, and that's the only way you know that you are in the right place. And
get yourself the lasagna.
Food and drinks and lasagna are amazing. Dive bar you should go to. Krakaeur, great little music venue. Dingy bar. Seattle's such a music city as well, so if you've got time, check out some bands. You won't regret it. It's amazing. Okay, so now we are going to Los Angeles. Come on, are you surprised? The older I get, Jill, the more I fall in love with Los Angeles. It's just
We're cold. We're
so cold. I'm from Chicago. I've lived in New York. Like, I'm tired of being cold, and Los Angeles is just dreamy weather-wise, obviously. And it is expansive, and you're probably going to sit in traffic to get to all these places that I mentioned, but I'm telling you, the payoff is worth it, okay? Number one, Manhattan Beach. I know that Santa Monica and Venice Beach get all the shine, but Manhattan Beach has it all. It's just like a kind of sleepy little beach community. There's beautiful shops and restaurants. There's bike trails. There's running trails. It's fantastic. Grab a beer at the Shellback Tavern. Such a cool, laid-back little beach bar. It's iconic LA. Hiking in LA. Another thing that is truly, truly awesome. They've got Griffith Park. They've got Runyon Canyon. It's a great spot to get a little bit of a workout in and also do some celeb sightings. I have actually seen celebs hiking when I've done it. And so, yeah, it's great people watching, but also a good way to just kind of like get your body and your mind moving. If you're looking for some shopping and dining options, Abbott Kinney is fantastic in Venice. I go there every trip to Los Angeles. Jelena is like one of the OG restaurants there. It's so good. Great food, great drinks. You can sit outside, but make a reservation because it books fast. SoFi Stadium, I can say I've never been to, but all of my friends that have been there say it's amazing. I cannot wait for that place to host a World Cup because the match day experience looks insane. So yeah, those are our bullet points. We just did like
just
a whirlwind tour.
Casual 6 places, 2 countries that you need to go in. And,
exactly.
I've never seen a soccer game in Mexico, but my choice would be Monterrey.
I know.
Based off that panoramic
Believe
photo.
me, Monterrey looks pretty dreamy.
What a bestie World Cup road trip we just planned.
We're here for you guys. If you want us kick back to like do more and go see these cities, go scout them. Jill and I volunteer. See, we couldn't be there in person, but you know he's always always looking out for us.
The big reveal. Here it is.
Love you guys out there. Enjoy the rest of the draw.
All right, we keep talking out of break as if we don't have enough time.
We've got a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot
World
to
Cup
talk
is coming.
about. We're so excited. All right, let's move on to Group E now. Group E has Germany. It has
Curacao.
Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. So this is a good one. What are your thoughts? Initial thoughts here?
To me, when it first came out, I thought it was going to be the group of death when Ivory Coast got pulled because I have Ivory Coast as one of my main dark horses. Mm-hmm. I think they have the formula that we talked about earlier on that a Croatia and a Morocco has shown, which is star power attackers, but the platform for them to play off of. And then I look at a group where I think Germany is one of the weaker pot 1 teams that you could possibly get. And I just think it's open for everyone. Curacao comes in. They're a huge unknown. But this is a Curacao group that will probably get better because there's a chance they recruit more players on the way to the World Cup. And the group they have is really cohesive and has a ton of belief. And they all play in the Netherlands. So playing in Germany is less uncomfortable for them because most players have played in European competition against a side like that. So this is one of those groups that I think could go a lot of different ways. I think Curacao will struggle to get results out of it, but I still think they'll be really excited for what this looks like.
Definitely very excited for them just to be in the World Cup. Heath, what's your prediction for this one? How do you think it's going to stand after the group stage?
Well, again, with Giants, Germany coming in the pot 1, I agree with Goss that they're one of the weaker of the pot 1 teams, but they're still Germany, and they're still looking at a huge opportunity to cruise pretty comfortably, I think, through this group. Ecuador, I think, is the wild card. If you look at their qualifying, very tough to break down, very defensive team. What that means is they generally can play not to lose. When you get into a group, everything changes, right? You win your first game, what do you do in your second? And if all you have is the defensive side, because they don't score a ton of goals, it starts to change the dynamic a little bit. And so I'm worried for them in a World Cup type of setting and group type setting where it's about qualifying for the next round and how they handle those first couple of matches. And then Ivory Coast, I think, are a little bit of the wild card for me in this one, where they have a lot of strength, they have a lot of quality players. And then Curacao, I just saw an odds thing, plus 200,000 to win the World Cup, guys. So get your bets in now. I think that they'll be a fun one and entertaining and surprise a few people, but not really competing in the way that I think is going to disrupt this group all that much. I think all 3 other teams will look at that as a 3-point must.
Your financial planning from Heath Pearce.
One of the things that I said at the top of the show about Germany, or at least when the groups are getting put together, was that Julian Nagelsmann is more of a club coach than he is a national team coach, but one of the great benefits of playing in a tournament is you got a week or 2 weeks of camp, and that makes a huge difference. And ultimately, this German side have a lot of quality. They've also figured out something that had been hampering them. They have in Nick Voltemada, they have found a goal scorer.
He's so good.
He hadn't scored many headers in his career before going to Newcastle. He's found that side of his game. He's good with the hold-up play. So I think all that is going to come together. Germany's going to top this group, I think, rather easily. I agree with Heath that Ecuador, for all their solidity defensively, with guys like Moises Caicedo and Hincapié, they still lack a little bit in the attacking side of things. They're still very reliant on Ener Valencia, and if he doesn't score, they'll be in trouble. I still think they'll finish second, though. Ivory Coast just managed to edge out Gabon in their group. They've got good players, not enough difference makers for me, but they finished third and Curacao last.
Yeah. Germany, I'm going to take them first. Since winning in 2014, they haven't made it out of the group stage, but I am confident for them to finish first in this one. I'm going to go Ecuador, then Ivory Coast, then Curacao.
I'm going to go safe here. I think for me, Germany are super reliant on Jamal Musiala, who we don't know what he'll look like coming back from injury, and Florian Wirtz, whose form has been poor, and all of the issues that you talked about over the last 10 years. So in my mind, I think that this is Ivory Coast and Ecuador's group to win. In saying that, I think Germany having Curacao in the first matchup helps.
Yeah.
But also, they got to come out strong because that's 3 points you absolutely need. I think this Ecuador team is a dark horse because they don't concede goals. They know who they are. They're super cohesive. They all grew up playing in the same club, basically. They're a South American Portugal at this point. So I'm going to go Ecuador in first, Ivory Coast in second, Germany in third, and Curacao in fourth.
Wow. All right. Well, hey, that tees it up perfectly, you favoring this Ecuador side. So let's cut to a video that we have diving deeper into this nation. I went too quick for them.
Yeah, or not. They're a very defensive team.
North America, and here's everything you need to know about Ecuador, who are the second best team in South America. Not Brazil or Colombia, it is La Tri. Ecuador's international emergence is powered on the back of one small club that averages not even 5,000 fans a game. Independiente de Valle only reached Ecuador's top division in 2009, but with a commitment to a youth development unequaled around the world, this tiny club has won trophies and, most importantly, importantly, stacked this national team's roster. They have produced the spine of the national team with Moises Caicedo at Chelsea, Piero Hincapié at Arsenal, and Willian Pacho at PSG. The first name of those Del Valle grads is, of course, the star of this team, Moises Caicedo. It might be rare to have a defensive midfielder as a star, but rare is how you describe Caicedo. An ability to dominate a game with or without a ball, he can cover ground and close off multiple players at the same time, and then also spark the attack. He is the centerpiece of what was the best defensive side in all of CONMEBOL qualifying, as well as Chelsea, which boasts one of the top defensive sides in the Premier League. The next Del Valle grad to Chelsea star is Kendry Páez. He made history as the youngest ever goal scorer in a CONMEBOL World Cup qualifier at just 16 years and 161 days old. He was bought by Chelsea almost 2 years before he was eligible to move countries because they wanted to secure his rights so badly. Unlike the rest of the Ecuador stars, Páez is all about the attacking side of the game. La Tri have never won a knockout game at the World Cup, but North America has provided a friendly stomping grounds for this team over the last 2 years. Outside of World Cup qualifiers, they have played all of their 13 other matches in one of the 3 host countries. You can get a deeper dive into Ecuador and all the other qualified nations in our other podcasts.
All right, let's continue on with our groups. We're going to move on to Group F, which is the Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, and then it will also be a UEFA playoff team, which could be Sweden. Sweden, Poland, Ukraine, Albania. So, Goss, I'll kick it off with you here. Initial thoughts?
I love this Japan team right now. I love the form they're in. They just beat Brazil 3-2. They came to the U.S. and played toe-to-toe with a number of World Cup teams. They have belief in what they're building. They're cohesive. They're confident. And they came out of a World Cup where they knocked off Germany in the opening game. So in my mind, I think that this Japanese team is favorites in this group. Netherlands are interesting. Similar to Switzerland, I think they play up and down a little bit without Xavi Simons really taking over. They don't have a true player who dominates the game, and so they'll still be wondering, but they're a tournament favorite every time they get in it. And then you've got a team in Tunisia who will never beat themselves. So you have to go and get the game from them. And that's what we saw at the last World Cup. And I think we're about to see it at the AFCON again. So while I don't think there's the star power, I think we're looking at some really tight games in this group. But I think Japan will be happy with the draw they got.
How do you think this will end at
You
the
know,
end of the group stage?
The Netherlands cruised through their group stage, but I think there are some questions about what they do up front. And whether they're creating enough, which is crazy to say because they scored a boatload of goals in the group stage. Japan have a ton of talent. They're a high-tempo team. I think they can disturb everybody, but they've never really put it together in a World Cup in a way that is meaningful. So Netherlands first, Japan, Tunisia defensively solid. Most players play in Tunisian clubs, but I think they could finish third, and the UEFA club that comes out of here could finish fourth, depending on who that is.
Yeah.
All right, Heath, what are you thinking? How do you think they'll finish, those 4?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say. Netherlands, I think, are good. Defensively, they're super sound right now. Japan are my favorite in this group again, as the things Goss mentioned. I like the tempo of this team. I like their belief. I like the cohesiveness in the way that they play. For me, where it all comes together is who that team from Path B is. Poland is a team that the Netherlands barely inched out in that group play, even though both of the teams had really strong campaigns. Poland find themselves having to qualify through. We saw that Sweden really, really struggled in World Cup qualifying, but obviously got their pathway in a different fashion. And so I think Ukraine, Poland, Albania, Sweden can all be teams that can compete within this group, or have to if they get in this group, that there could be some ability to mix things up and cause a little bit of chaos. But for now, I would say Japan finishing first and Netherlands finishing second, with that UEFA team finishing third, depending on maybe 1 or 2 of those teams in that group.
Opening game in this group, by the way, is Netherlands versus Japan. So it seems like what we're all saying is that's the big game.
That's going to be a huge one. All right, so I agree with Heath. That's how I think this one will finish out. Did you give your prediction?
Yes, I did. I think I did Japan first, Netherlands, and then the UEFA team, and then Tunisia.
I'm the only one to put Tunisia third.
Oh, you know what? No, I put Tunisia third.
Yeah.
I don't want Eric to be the only one.
I think Ukraine or Poland come out of this group, but I'm giving credit to Tunisia.
The Carthage Eagles, come on.
The Carthage Eagles, yes.
This could definitely be one where the third team gets out of this one.
On 3 points, for sure.
All right, moving on to Group G, we have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand in this one. Heath, how do you like the way that this Group G shaped out?
Well, Belgium, I'm not super familiar with over the last sort of 12 months of where they're at. Obviously, we know Belgium has a strong national team and what they're capable of at a World Cup level. We know that it's been a golden generation for 16 years now. Eventually, those generations are over. And so I wonder how far that they can go. When I look at them or the Netherlands, they come in as favorites, but I don't see them as an actual World Cup favorite. Egypt, again, they're a team that's going to be well organized. They're going to be well prepared. They're going to come into this with a belief that they can compete with anybody in this competition. New Zealand, I think, is a click below anybody else within this group. Iran has struggled at the World Cup level when they do qualify. So this could be a huge moment for them to step up, but I'm not sure that they have the quality and depth to really compete. So I see really two tiers within this group. It's Belgium and Egypt that are light years ahead of Iran and New Zealand in terms of their ability to not just do well in this group, but to go on later into this tournament. So I'd probably keep this structure the way that it's laid out now and how we're looking at it.
Yeah, Belgium, one of the bigger storylines here is that they also kind of like have this aging golden generation. Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, who people are wondering with his hamstring injury, how fit will he be for the World Cup? Thibaut Courtois here, but he's doing very well in the net. What are you thinking? What's your prediction?
So I will say this. I think this is probably the worst group overall, I think, in the draw. And I think for Egypt, it's a dream situation because they are a team that thought that they had a shot to get out, and this really sets the stage for you. So I like Jeremy Doku and what he can be for that group, of that injection of a little bit more creativity and quality on top of the base that's already been built. I think this Egypt team has found a way with younger players to platform Salah. So I have Belgium going first, Egypt second, and as Heath said, this is an Iran team that struggled at the World Cup, and we're not going to have enough time to go into boycotting the draw, being having a friendly in Canada canceled, like all these things. So now you look at all of that going on around Iran. They were supposed to play in Vancouver 4 years ago in a World Cup warm-up that they canceled the week of the game because Canadian citizens were so upset about the idea of Iran playing, and they might play their opener in Vancouver. So I think it's going to be a tough World Cup for them, and New Zealand are out of their depths at this level.
I'm going the same way.
I think Belgium are by far the favorites. Rudy Garcia is a good attacking coach, not necessarily a national team coach. So but he's done well so far in the group stages. For the first time ever, Egypt has had an easy qualification period to get to this point. They've never won a game in the World Cup. You got to take that into consideration. Mo Salah, very dependent on Mo Salah, on guys like Trezeguet in midfield. As for Iran, so I think Egypt finishes second after. As for Iran, excuse me, I'm trying to get through these quickly. A lot of complaints about Iran under Carlos Queiroz being too defensive, especially in tournaments. The complaints now are that they're even more defensive. So I don't expect much from them. So Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and then New Zealand.
For Egypt, I'm curious to see how Mo Salah does in the upcoming AFCON because with him, Liverpool being benched twice, interesting to see.
Might have something to prove in this tournament by the end of the year.
I think he definitely will.
End of the season.
All right, let's move on to Group H. Here we have Spain. Cabo Verde is in this one, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. So let's start with you, Eric. What are you thinking for this one?
Spain licking their chops.
Yeah.
They're licking their chops because they get, they start off against Cabo Verde. They think that Cabo Verde is a minnow, and they are. I think they'll wipe the floor with them and slowly get momentum into this tournament. Saudi Arabia next, and then they finish the group against Uruguay, the only team that I believe will give them some trouble. And I know there's been some concerns about Uruguay under Bielsa and just the fractious approach that he has and not being the kind of coach that puts his arm around a player's shoulders. But I think Uruguay are a force to contend with. So Spain first, second Uruguay. Between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, I'm sorry, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia third, more experience, and then Cabo Verde in fourth place.
I'm going to go that way as well. You teed it up perfectly for me. Heath, what are you thinking in this one, Group H?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the only difference is, we've heard Eric a few times talk about national team versus club managers. They've got Hervé Renard at Saudi Arabia, who's coached every national team ever on the men's and women's side, and is just a pure national team manager. So I think he has a good idea and a clue on how to navigate these moments. Maybe not the most successful, but a unique manager in that sense. But I would go with Spain finishing first. Saudi Arabia maybe challenging for that third spot to actually get out of that group and into the knockout rounds, with Uruguay finishing second and then Cabo Verde in that fourth and final spot.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. To Heath's point, you know, Saudi Arabia, the reason they beat Argentina was because Hervé Renard had all this time to work with them and create this plan. But they beat Argentina to open a World Cup, and then they end up not getting out of the group because there's a lack of quality, especially in the finishing final third for them. So I could see them manage this very well, and it is manageable. But I also think there's something special with this Cape Verde team, and I'm excited to see them play, and I'm excited to see what they can do. So for me, Spain, number one. I think they're World Cup favorites,
obviously.
No question. I understand the issues with Bielsa, but I still think there's a Uruguay team with Valverde that's going to be one of the best at the tournament. And then I'm going to go Cape Verde and then Saudi Arabia to close things out.
All right, moving on to Group I. Here we have France, Senegal, Norway, and in that playoff team, it'll either be Bolivia, Suriname, or Iraq. So those are the three that we could potentially have, or that we could have in that. Heath, how about you kick it off for us here? What are you thinking about this Group I?
I would say this is probably the closest thing to a group of death based on the 3 teams. I think when you add the 4th team, there could be just some weakening of this group. But when you think about the way Senegal came in undefeated in their World Cup qualifying campaign, again, the groups within AFCON not the strongest in terms of the way that they were split up. So you expected all those teams to nearly go perfect throughout. But Norway are a team that I'm not sure. They've been able to figure out how to play, as earlier as Goss mentioned, around Erling Haaland. He has become a star within this team, and we've seen historically with the Zlatans of the Swedens of the past of never being able to really build a squad that could service a star player at the world level. I think they're a team that's going to continue to drive around making sure that he's effective when he's in and around the box and the way that they score goals. So I think this one's a little bit of a toss-up. I think Norway could get out of this group in first or second. I'm going to place them behind France at 2, with Senegal 3rd, and then really tough to say who that 4th place team is, but I can confidently say that they'll probably finish 4th in this group. Very difficult group for whoever's qualifying in now.
Yeah. So one of the things I said when we came in is I always believe you should play the best team first, because I think teams take a little while to settle in, and France has been that in the past. So I like the way this set up for Senegal in that they start with France, the history, 2002, all of that, the rivalry, the intensity, and I think that's a nice opening game for them, and most likely it'll be in either New York or Boston. So it should be a pretty pro-Senegal crowd as much as you can get for a small country in the U.S. So I think that France has a good chance, of course, of going out, and they're one of the favorites at the World Cup. But the way this fell for Norway, I think, is unfortunate. They're one of the darlings coming in, and I don't know that this is a great draw for them. So I'm going to go with France, Senegal, and Norway as the top 3, with whoever the playoff winner is as the 4th team.
I'm going that way as well.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was thinking that. I was thinking there's so much hype around Norway that I'm going to bet against them. But I'm not. Even though I'm looking forward to a Koulibaly Haaland battle.
Yeah.
You know, Koulibaly, who used to be at Chelsea, now at Al Hilal. I think France possibly run away with this. They just have too much quality, and I do think that Norway ultimately, the difference makers like an Odegaard, like Haaland, are just going to be too much for Senegal defensively. So Senegal 3rd, and then I feel bad for whoever comes out of that intercontinental path too.
Yeah.
All
to
right.
fight for a World Cup spot and end up in
And
that
just
group.
get trounced.
All right, so France obviously trying to make it to their 3rd straight World Cup final, and they lost last year to Argentina. And Argentina's side, let's move to Group J, because Argentina is the Pot A team in this one, along with Algeria and Jordan. And who else do we have in this? We have Austria in this Group J. So Argentina, reigning champions. You know how hard it is to win one World Cup. Now to try to do it back-to-back. With or without Messi, we still don't know, because he's still been very
coy.
Iffy, coy about whether he'll be
He's
there.
playing and starting.
What are you thinking for this Group J?
I'm really looking forward. As a neutral, this group is one that I'm really paying attention to. I'm very hot on Algeria. I just think they're tremendously talented and very often fall short of expectations. In 2010, or is it 2014? One of those two. 2014. They almost beat Germany in the round of 16 and went to extra time. It ended 2-1. Islam Slimani missed a couple of chances. So I think Argentina topped this, understandably. I think Algeria are going to be this dark horse for me for some reason. Austria third, and Jordan. I'm sorry, Jordan.
Yeah.
You know, a team that got to the final of the Asian Cup a couple years ago, but they just don't have anything, including your friend. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Juan,
Jaime.
Jaime, hopefully you have a great tournament, but I just don't think they have any weapons to fight against these teams.
What are you thinking?
It was a dream draw for Argentina. Every one of the simulators I did, they came out in this group of death, and somehow they were able to manage through whatever happened, and that didn't end up happening. The fascinating part about this group to me is Algeria and Austria are both teams that are direct, and they are transitional. In Algeria, they were one of the best second-half teams in World Cup qualifying, so they struggled at the start, and then they come out of the gates in the second half flying, and we know what Austria want to do. But you take a look at this group, and most likely the way it nets out, there's a chance Austria ends up with 2 inside games, which we haven't talked a ton about, but they're going to be a high-pressing team. Playing inside at AT&T Stadium would be a really good bonus for them because they need to play at high intensity and high speed the whole game. Unquestioned, Argentina wins this group. Whatever Messi wants to pretend he's going to do or not do, he will be there and he will lead this team through it. But these are a couple teams that are trying to make history, and I think Algeria gets second place and Austria gets third place, and I've got Jordan in fourth. But I actually think this is a bad draw for Austria. I think they wanted to play giants and play against them, and now they have to kind of be the favorite.
Yeah.
Just I'm going to shout out 3 names at you. One is that Luka Zidane is most likely going to be, so the youngest son for Zinedine Zidane is going to be probably the starting goalkeeper for Algeria. But the 2 names that I want you to focus on, Amin Gouiri and Ilan Kabal. 2 extremely talented, skillful players who can really light the field on fire. Keep an eye out for those 2 guys.
Heath, your thoughts? Who do you think is going to go 1 through 4 in this one?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to this is that I think Austria do have a chance. They're one of the teams that we've talked about as a great European side that have suffered in the fact of how few teams get into the World Cup, right? At the Euro level, the way that they compete with the other teams within UEFA. They get the benefit now of the expanded World Cup. They're a team that I think have made the most of it. Arnautovic, 8 goals in 8 games. I think they do have the ability to score goals. They're going to be solid defensively. So they could compete with Algeria if Algeria, who I think is historically underperformed on the biggest stage, to win that second spot. And if not, I do think that there's some points for them of being one of the teams that gets into that round of 32. So that's the only other sort of team that I would focus on, that I think the way in which they've gotten here and falling short and kind of the expanded World Cup, I think tees them up well in a group like this to be able to compete and get out of the group.
All right. Well, I'm going along with you guys. I say Argentina. Well, I think someone said this. Argentina. I'm going to do Austria. I think those will be the top 2
There we
here.
go, Claudia.
Algeria third, Jordan fourth. So that's what I'm going with. All right. Let's move on to Group K. Eric, you're going to take this one first. Group K, we have Portugal, Uzbekistan, Colombia, and in that FIFA playoff spot, it'll be Jamaica, DR Congo, or New Caledonia. Now, you tell me, what's harder, that group or trying to read Gus's handwriting?
I thought we were muting Eric on this one. Because, you know, you guys ate up all the air on my U.S. men's national team. Let's mute Eric.
Actually,
sit on his thoughts.
Yeah, let's start with Heath, actually. I think it'd be better to start with
I don't
Heath.
want to. No, I need you to lead off. I need you to lead off. You're making me nervous now.
I'll say this. I think the way that the matches line up for Portugal are beneficial for them because they can get 2 wins out of the way early on. Unless it's DR Congo, watch out for them. Very strong team. But it also works against them. Because if you're Portugal starting against the Path 1 team, they're starting with Cristiano Ronaldo. And if that doesn't work out, he's still going to start against Uzbekistan. And by the time they play Colombia, Heath, it's going to be too late for Portugal. By that time, they're in 3rd place. They're in deep trouble. So I think Portugal first, Colombia first, DR Congo second, Portugal third, and Uzbekistan.
Wow.
You heard it here.
DR Congo, you said second?
If DR
Colombia
Congo,
third?
if DR Congo gets into this group, it's going to be between Portugal and DR Congo for second place.
Ooh, what are you thinking?
I get his point of view, which is I think Colombia are the best team in this group. They found
Whoa,
themselves.
I never said that.
Not what he
That's
said.
not what
You
I
think
said.
that's what
I
came
said
out
what
of
they'll
his mouth?
finish. They're not the better
His favorite
team.
team is Colombia. That's what I heard Eric say.
I actually have a Colombia jersey that I can
There
give
you
you if
go.
you want
Oh,
to
yeah.
wear it.
Eric, you want to throw that
Yeah,
on?
I've just been denaturalized.
I think, and also the way this sets up for Colombia as well. To play Uzbekistan in the first game, it'll be tough. They'll be defensive, but I think that's the good start for you. So I think this is a Colombia group that can go really far. What they did at 2024 Copa America here in the U.S., it's going to be repeatable for them. And Luis Diaz is performing as well as ever. James Rodriguez might be a free agent playing for a contract.
Yeah.
And they just have a real idea of how they're set up and how they should play. So I have Colombia in first. I've got Portugal in second. My guess is it is DR Congo because they got to buy into the next round of that playoff. So they will be third. And then Uzbekistan, who, let's be real, are kind of happy to be there under Fabio Cannavaro. They'll be fourth, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's exactly how mine is. Heath, is yours the same way, or do you have Portugal first?
I don't have Portugal first. Mine's the same way. It's just the CONMEBOL teams, 2 through, 6, all finished within a point of each other,
Yeah.
5 of them on 28 points. There's just so much quality there and the ability to compete. I think CONMEBOL, of all places in the world, preps the teams most for the World Cup just because of the quality of competition, the travel, all of those pieces. And so I like Colombia doing really well in this World Cup, so I have them top of the group as well. And then I have to give Portugal the second. I may be a little naive with that, but they're a team that can compete and they have a lot of experienced players. So
Did we create a narrative where Portugal's bad at soccer?
No.
did.
They're going to finish third and then win the World Cup.
Yeah, well, that part I agree
Win the
with.
World Cup,
Yeah.
No, they're going to draw 6 times, win in penalties, and then win the World Cup.
Hey, there's a trophy in the cabinet, Heath, after that
A win
tournament.
is a win. All right, let's move on to the last group, Group L, who to me feels like the group of death. It is England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. I think Panama is still overlooked by a lot of people who maybe don't watch Panama on a competition-to-competition basis and aren't really keeping up to date with them. But Heath, let's come to you first. What are you thinking about this Group L?
I think Panama finished bottom of this group. I don't think they have the power to compete in this. This is a very tough group. I mean, depending on the Croatia that we get, Ghana are strong enough, but Panama, for me, I love their story of qualifying for the World Cup. I love the nation, obviously played against them a couple of times, and I like what they stand for within CONCACAF. But at that next stage, there's just a lot of, I think the bar is really, like, the standard in this group is really, really high that Panama's going to have to meet on. Their ability to score goals, their ability to break down defenses, their ability to play in transition or even have to make the game in possession, I think could be a struggle. So I have probably this group finishing in the way that it's lined up now, with maybe a flip-flop of Ghana and Croatia, but I'm pretty confident in it going England, Croatia, Ghana, and then Panama at the end.
Damn, I teed it up so nicely. You went, yeah, forget what you said. They're last. What do you
I
think?
want to be with them, but I can't. I just don't believe in them in this group. Another group, maybe. This group, no.
I agree. It's that the other teams in this group are so hard.
Yeah, it's a tough group. The opening day is going to be unbelievable with this one because you've got England, Croatia, and Ghana, Panama, which I think for all 4 of those teams really sets the tone for who they are and what the tournament ends up looking like. I agree with you about Panama, which is I think they're cohesive. I think they play well against teams that are better than them, and they know who they are. And so I think they'll throw a wrench in this whole thing. But I really like this Ghana team. I like what they have on the wings. I like their ability to create the game. Jordan Ayew continuing somehow to score goals after all of these years. So I'm going to end up here with England, Ghana, Croatia, and Panama. I am taking the risk in saying after 10 straight years of Croatia somehow overperforming in every tournament and Luka Modric having a 15th lung, that it finally falls after in 2026. And if they lose that opening game, now they're trying to chase a little bit in game 2, and now it sort of gets difficult for them.
What do you think?
I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I think that England might win this World Cup, and we'll never
on American territory.
We'll never hear the end of this. I think that Tuchel, even though he rubs people the wrong way, has a very specific way he wants to play. England have traditionally had this issue where they have a lot of good players. Trying to fit them into a system has always been complicated. Think of Lampard and Steven Gerrard as like the epitome of that. He knows how he wants to play. He's not going to pick stars. He's going to pick the players that fit those roles. And I think that's what's going to be successful for them, especially how good they'll be defensively. I'm really high on this Ghana team. There's a tremendous amount of talent. There's also a lot of experience. You know, you look at guys like Mohamed Kudus. You got Semenyo, who's having a great season. And the name for me, Kamaldeen Suleimana, didn't do so well at Southampton, now at Atlanta, a great star. Croatia, I think, is an old team. I don't know if the new players have really asserted themselves yet. If they finished third and are disappointing. And I'm sorry, Panama, not enough firepower. It's going to be a war of attrition with them. They're just going to try to out-battle you, but they don't have the quality in the attacking third.
I keep switching through because for all the good stuff that I said about Panama, I had them fourth, and then I put them third, and now I have Ghana fourth.
Yeah.
I'm not giving my prediction because I can't predict it. And you know what? As the one who's hosting it right
As
now,
the host.
I could do that. All
Yeah.
right, let's wrap this up. Just everybody give me your winner. So I'm assuming you're going England.
Portugal.
To take it all, win everything, to win everything.
It's gonna be Portugal. This is the year.
Are you serious?
That they win.
We're going to have to pay someone to go back through this transcript
Listen,
so that we can figure out
Did
what
you just
Eric
say
said.
England?
I have no idea.
Look, I got to go with my heart. England, I think, for me, are the favorites just in terms of quality and depth and everything, but my heart says Portugal. They'll finish third in their group. They'll move on, just like in the Euro, and they'll scrape through until the very end and beat the favorite England in the final.
All right, Goss, who's your favorite to win
Put your
it all?
money on that.
I came in saying Spain. I thought they got a really easy draw. I think it sets up everything with the way FIFA did it. If you win your group, you know that you can avoid some of the biggest teams going forward. So in my mind, this is a Spanish team that's ready to roll, and I still have them as favorites.
I'm going Spain as well. Heath?
Yeah, Goss cried on camera for Brazil and then shut them down with winning a World Cup. But I'm going to go with Spain. I like the way they are. I like the momentum that they have, even though we broke up that momentum in the Confederations Cup back in 2009.
Nice.
Before they, took the Euros and then the World Cup, but we had a little stopgap in between. But I will say, Claudia, Panama are going to get their first ever World Cup win in this World Cup, so that's a big win for everyone as well.
Let's do
Who
that.
beat
He's
Spain in
making
the
up
Nations
for...
League? Who beat Spain in the Nations League? Remind me of that. Portugal?
Was it
Portugal?
Belgium? Oh,
Portugal.
that
There
country.
we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Heath got the Confed Cup in, so we're good.
Yes.
We're contractually allowed to close now.
All right, Heath, thank you so much for joining us this whole time. Thank you, everybody who has been watching along for all these hours.
Can I give a big shout out to Ben
Yes,
Bagel
please.
and Keon, who crushed it, to Brandon as well, who put together all our videos, and a huge thank you to Eric, Dan, and the entire crew, and a huge thank you to you two for being here this whole time, and
Thanks,
for
guys.
Eric
So happy to be here.
for swapping on Portugal 15 times to keep it entertaining.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Goss, you take it out.
Yeah, we have 1 million more pieces of content coming out about the World Cup. We've already got 16 podcasts about 16 different countries that have qualified. We've got 42 coming, social videos, newsletter, everything. So follow Kickback First Touch on social media, anywhere on Blue Sky. And once again, thank you from all of us. And we've got it. We've got a World Cup. We are set for the 2026 World Cup here in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Bye, everyone.
Do this. Go Spain.
Bye, big soccer heads.